I'll fix that in a second. I'll go out to like see where they are. And the next thing I know, I look over and I'm like, wait a minute, where are the dogs? And they'll be in the park running around, just like hanging out. Just looking at me like, hey man, what's up? What's up? Why are you looking at us like we're in trouble? Well, dude, what the fuck? I mean,
but they don't like fully run away or anything, right?
No,
they just
they're like kids at the outside, like at the edge of a park. They're just like, hey, dude, this is awesome because the park's right next door. So they just go over and they're like, hey, what's up, everybody? What up? What up, fellow kids? What up, fellow children? So they just go and they mess around all the time. So whenever I'm like working on something, it seems like they get a little bit stressed out, like I'm not paying attention, and then they pick the lock. They don't pick the lock. They squeeze through a little hole in the fence. And we fixed this hole in the fence like 40 times. We put more wood there. Yeah. They dig through it. And one of them is
clever.
Like, dude, one of them's Prison Break, like Shawshank, Dog-Shank Redemption. Because he will dig, and then you'll go out there, and he hears the door, and he's like, what's up? No, nothing special's happening here. And they get really quiet, like kids. Everything gets very quiet. And I'll be like, I wonder what's going on exactly. And then I realize, oh, shit, these guys, they snuck in. You missed half the conversation. Don't worry. We're just talking about doggies escaping from homes. So let's begin. Best Gaming Podcast.
Boom.
Thanks to Johnny for showing up. We're just yakking about the fact that we may have the occasional disruption today due to various dog-centric and life-centric things.
Yeah.
External, beyond our control. Mostly UFOs. UFOs, dogs, possibly having to take a piss. All those things combined. But I just wanted to warn him beforehand. Speaking of warning beforehand, we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about performance on games. I know sometimes people get a little tight when we talk about these things. And if it doesn't fit your exact expectations of what we're going to talk about, we're just going to be honest about what we've seen on some games, or at least what I've seen on some games, and what it bodes for the future. But almost every single time whenever we talk about games and technology, man, there's always somebody in there who's like, actually, and you're just like, oh God, here we go. It's started. It's begun. So just wanted to give that heads up prior. What have you been playing, Johnny? I'm going to turn off my AC while you explain what you've been playing.
I've started playing some Borderlands 4. I was really excited for this one because I've always enjoyed the gameplay a lot in those games. And so far, this one looks amazing, plays great. I'm excited to try all the classes. So far, I'm playing with the Gravity Girl with the big nuke ball thing. We just toss it and then explode it. It's fantastic. Yeah, I liking it so far. It's not amazingly optimized. Even with DLSS, I'm sort of between 50, 60 frames per second on 4K. But I haven't tried FrameGen yet. I know that will help a lot too. So
yeah. What do you think of the change up or slight increase in the graphic look, the detail? What do you think about the world overall so far?
I think it looks great. One thing I noticed was the detail on the weapons too. Seems really upgraded. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I think it looks great so far. Runs really smoothly. I haven't had any stutter. I know some people have complained about stutter, and I'm very early, so I could run into it later. But so far, no stutter. I've seen the complaints about hitching when people are moving inside vehicles. That seems very valid, and hopefully they can patch that up. But outside of that, in normal movement, normal combat, it's been butter smooth for me.
Yeah, you are one of, if not the only person I've heard say that. Like legitimately the only person.
Okay.
We had about 70 videos sent to me just yesterday from a stream. Zero performed adequately. Zero, which I've never seen before. I've never in my life seen that. I've seen ones where there's been some issues here or there, where, I've been the magic lucky PC owner before. You know me, like I have a lot of memory, which I think is a big thing. Rebar on or off can mean a big thing. It's one of the first things I always warn people is check your rebar, because like sometimes it doesn't work great on games, and other times it just seems to be magical. With Unreal, it doesn't seem to be something that you can track if that's going to help you or not. It seems like if it was, I think a lot of games are unreal. People leave it on or leave it off, whatever works for them, and they would just move on. But dude, it's been really weird because so the reviews came in and, you know, it reviewed, it's 80 plus, like, not that really matters, but I will say there's a distinct dichotomy there, really, with like, you know, I get it because performance won't always affect. It won't always dramatically affect at least your rating. It can affect. It depends on the power of your system, that kind of thing. But what I did see was just about every single person who covered this game discussed the difficulties that they were having with performance at the very minimum. If you ignore the stuttering or hitching or you don't get it for whatever reason, it was the performance. It was so bad that I couldn't really tell what was going on in some of the articles, because one article was like, this thing runs exactly as I expected. Unfortunately, with my 4090, I couldn't get 60 frames per second. And I remember reading it going,
hold on a second.
I don't think I read that right. And I read it and I sent it to the people in Discord. And I'm like, am I reading like what they say? Am I reading that right? And they're like, yeah, you are actually. It's always an oddity when it comes to performance because it's going to impact some people more than others. I think that we as gamers expect everybody to have a, you know, variable refresh rate, for example, system.
Yeah.
Which I always try to review on both. I have a variable and I have a non, and I try to review it on the non and then on the variable as well, because the number of people who don't have a variable refresh rate is actually quite high. It's not negligible, I'll say that much. Yeah. So there was that.
And some people do like VSync, right? Where doesn't that kind of negate
well, you can have all kinds of cross kind of systems, but really the variable refresh rate should take care of everything, including down to your 48s, you know, and depending on your Xbox PC where they run it. Sorry, Xbox, PlayStation, and then your PC, of course, is a different bird. It's gonna do it better no matter what. Really, Xbox and PC have a low cap where they just sort of turn off. Or Xbox and PlayStation, but it's been an odd title because I think it looks way better from a standpoint of artistic.
Yeah, and detail and stuff.
I think it's exactly what I was hoping for when I look at it graphically. I'm like, okay, this is what I wanted from this game. I really like that step up. There's some fidelity changes. Just you don't have to remake the world. That's what they did when they made this game. Because remember, it was supposed to look normal, like your Gears of War. It was supposed to look like that. So to change it to cell shading was your big change. I know they're going to be mad if I say cell shading, but we'll just say more cartoonish look, right? The animated style look. And so we get it all set up, and I started looking at a lot of stuff. And yeah, there was some hitching that was, it seemed to go away after a little bit. And then I saw other people with no hitching, but then they had almost worse performance, which that makes me seriously consider that something's going on behind the scenes with like whatever caching they're doing and stuff like that, and who's got what memory. I think also we're at the point now, man, where Windows or whatever you're using, anything that adds functionality, the OS gets bigger, right? Any OS, we can, obviously I'm talking about Windows 99% of the time, but let's say I'm not. I think that as everything gets bigger, we're definitely looking at RAM becoming an issue for some of these games where you're starting
and
to
I
get,
did recently upgrade to 64.
64.
Not saying that's why it's running
no, but
better.
I bet you it, I 100% would say it
that could be one bottleneck for people.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. Like people who are playing it, regardless of the issues, they seem to all say it's the best of all of them, at least when it comes to gameplay, which is interesting to me because I didn't think the gameplay needed to dramatically change. I think the story in 3 sucked. And I think like some of the other stuff in 3 sucked, but I didn't think like it needed I didn't think it would be good enough that people would be like, oh my God, this is, noticeably better. So would you say, do you think that's the skill system? Or did you notice, and it was enemy AI? Well, okay, movement, that's for sure going to be one of the top tier changes. So ignoring movement for a second, because I think everybody knows that changes it. Did you notice anything with the
thing? That's cool. That's new.
Did you notice anything with the enemies or?
So what I noticed so far is the grenade system is way better. And that sounds like a small thing, but in the prior games, grenades were kind of useless, and you would just toss them out when maybe you couldn't shoot, or for whatever reason. Like, some people would do builds with them, but they were kind of bad, not great to use. This time they have the ordnance slot in your inventory, and that works with grenades. I think it works with rocket launchers too, and different stuff. And you can do entire builds around that. It feels way better to use them. They, even from the get-go, they seem way more effective and powerful. So yeah, I think that's one pretty practical thing you notice early on. And then overall seems just really responsive. But that's more of a incremental change. Right. It was already pretty good in the prior games. I think that compounded with some of the new stuff, like the grappling to different points you have, and the jetpack. So you have a second jump, right? So you can double jump, and it does a little fart in the air to kind of hover a little bit. And then you have gliding too, which is kind of seamless. When you do a big jump, you can basically just glide as if you had a...
Just feels like
a Fortnite.
It just makes it smoother as a movement.
Makes it smoother. It makes the navigation really cool, because now you have the ability to close the gap between big high up places with the gliding, whereas before that just wasn't a thing, right? You would need to find a way around to get from A to B. Here, a lot of the time, if you find a point high up, that now means you have access to in a 360 cone around you, you have access to everything now, even places that are kind of inaccessible. So I think that also opens up a lot.
What did you start a class already, or did you?
Yeah.
What did you start as?
Yeah, I'm doing the gravity girl with the nuke, the radiation explosive balls. So she tosses out a large ball. It does big radiation damage
to everybody nearby, and radiation being one of the slower ones. So a drip,
one of the
damage
types.
damage over time kind of thing.
Damage over time. It also does cryo, I think, in the beginning. So yeah, that's one fantasy that I found really cool, which is just toss a massive ball of pretty much fuck you to everyone,
And is this one from 3? I don't remember that. Is that I don't.
No.
Was there?
No, this is kind of new.
So okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
She inherited the classic Siren ability as well. It's not the one that I chose, but the other option is you can put people in a bubble. And so that is from prior games. And interestingly enough, the Siren this game no longer has that, but it's more around a necro style, where she summons other homies to deal damage for her.
Other homies. Official term, other homies.
Yeah.
No, that's
summon homie.
Summon
that's
homie
in the
now.
ability. Yeah.
What do you think you'll do any of the other builds right now, or are you playing? Have you been doing co-op? How's the co-op felt?
I haven't started co-op yet. No. In terms of other classes, yeah, I think I'm quite keen on trying the homies. Yeah, summoning homies. I think it's usually pretty fun to do.
Yeah, I haven't really heard any complaints about the multiplayer at all. It seems, anybody in chat if you've had issues, but I really haven't heard that being a problem. It's been some of this other stuff that seems to have gone by the wayside for some of the problems that I think probably was assumed or worried that that's what we would hit, and we did seem to run smack dab into it. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. It's also broke records, 200,000 plus Steam concurrent, broke records for them, I should point out, for them. It's never going to beat Roblox, at least for concurrent players, unless you get a lot more creepy shit in there. And then it also debuted at mostly or overwhelmingly negative. 90% of that, of course, is the technical issues, that you're going to get.
Yeah.
It was funny because within, I would say 7 seconds, maybe 8 seconds of it being live, there was already like 15 reviews with like 0.01 or 0.1, whatever the lowest amount you can play the game is, was on there already. And, just the typical, all of them were thumbs down already. And it wasn't even about tech. At that point, it was being mad at Randy. It was like, it was just all, it's funny because Steam reviews have gone the way of like being sort of just like, I don't like this person at a company, whatever it may be, but not about the game.
It's like a sentiment indicator, more of like facts or...
Yeah, but there was, there were a lot of people on there reporting tech issues. That's continued to grow. So hopefully they patch it up. The console versions, looks like somebody in here said that they refunded the Xbox version. I don't know if that's a performance issue or not. I haven't really checked into either one of the console's performances yet. But it's nice to see them do great numbers, obviously, because it is a fun-ass game. But I got to tell you, doesn't it feels like every time we're talking about a game, it's like talking about, the crazy best friend you had who was fun to hang out with, but they were a little dangerous to bring out in public. It's like every time we're talking about a game, there's a caveat. It's so crazy. I mean, it's not
a caveat
every time, but it seems like a lot of times. Yeah. There's a caveat for something. And you're just like, dude, and it doesn't mean they'll do well if they hit all of it, because we've seen those games. But on a big game like this, man, it would have been nice to see it, especially like Hell Is Us is also Unreal. And that's smooth. So it's just like, dude, we gotta figure out, and we've heard things that different devs do different things, different ways on the same engine. Completely correct, for sure. But it would have been nice if these guys could have got it, because this is a game people are going to want to play for a long time. And it's a huge title for a lot of people. I mean, not only the devs, but I'm talking about gamers, the people who want to play.
I think the one thing that people can like get some consolation in is that they have a big roadmap. They're clearly going to invest in the game, and they will work hard to patch a lot of these problems, right? It's in their best interest.
It's not going away anytime soon. I mean, it seems like it's already done numbers and it's already fantastic to play. I can't see it not being like one of their largest successes, but I always then question what the success would be had they had those ducks in a row. I can handle a little low performance. Not an issue at all. Like, I can. But your system, my system, that game, then you start looking at it going, should really be running. Should be, pretty damn good in this. Jeff Bozeman, $2 super chat. Let's get this party started. Thank you very much for the super chat. It absolutely helps the channel. As always, Starless Review, $10 super chat. Happy Friday, gents. Here's some money for Monsters and whatever the hell Johnny drinks. I bet you it's a tea. Probably some kind of unacceptable. What are you drinking right now?
It's coffee. Every day I just drink coffee.
Every day.
Coffee
he does. He drinks coffee.
And
as long as it's a diuretic, we both are drinking it, right? That's what we can. That's what we can promise you. Where it's in a race to see whose bladder is going to explode.
You're always going to beat cancer. Me, man. You have a like superhuman.
What you don't know, Johnny, is that occasionally you're going to see me go. That's just me peeing.
Oh. Okay, I'll always imagine that.
Yeah, now. Occasionally you'll be talking. I'll be all,
like the meme where like unsure if he's peeing or sinking.
This is my swimming pool face as a little kid, where I'll be all, pretending like I'm thinking about a math problem. Jet Black Ninja, $10 super chat. What's up, sir? Hope you're doing well, and thank you very much for the super chat. Let's see. Just made my way through the mist map in Silksong. F that level. That's what Maverick says. I don't know what that.
We should talk about that today. Like the difficulty. That's been a bit.
Oh my god. Yeah. Dude, that was a crazy one. I am gonna grab a monster.
Go for it.
Well, you've played it a bunch, right?
What, Silksong?
Silksong or not?
No, I haven't played it.
Okay, so listen, we were streaming in there, and I was asking the people streaming, I was all, so what do you think of the difficulty? And they're like, well, I played it a lot. I played the other one, and it's quite difficult. I think it's a good deal at times, more difficult. And so that's pretty much what everybody said. And then I go online, and I think it was one of the devs who's like, it's not more difficult. And it dawned on me, it was like, you rarely see that. And if that is true, and that wasn't a misstatement or whatever, I think that that's actually a tiny bit explainable, because they were in development for 7 years. And they probably got good enough at their game that whatever their level, and I'm not saying this is an excuse, I'm literally just saying why, if that was said, if that was a true comment, I could see somebody being like, no, I don't think so. You know, I mean, because they probably played it in a rough state, and once they solidified it, made it silky smooth, pun intended, maybe they were like, if you know the game, it isn't, but they're at the end level, and you're like, but we don't know the game. Anyway, so
exactly.
What do you think about the discussion overall? I'll be right back.
I think that comment came from a place of comparing the final difficulty in Hollow Knight, like when you get to the end levels, to the end levels of the new one. And I think that is kind of at a similar level, but you just can't argue that the first Hollow Knight starts off way more slowly. It's a ramp up in difficulty. Like early on, it's very accessible. You know, it's kind of simple. It gives you a little bit of time to get used to the flow. And the second one, just based on what we've seen in some of the streams in our Discord, but then also just, you know, Twitch, people from the get-go are getting clapped. You know, even people who have played the original, I've heard them say, like, dude, it's almost, you know, straight away up there. The difficulty is not really ramping up. It's more like picking up where it left off type thing.
Yeah. No, I think the same thing. I think that maybe if that was what was said, again, I just saw it a little bit ago, and I was like, well, that's an odd thing. But I could see somebody just coming at it from a different standpoint, especially, you know, is it harder than Cuphead? No, I actually asked that. At least nobody I talked to stated it was anywhere near Cuphead. So it is harder than the original, but I have not heard anybody state it was harder than Cuphead, especially all the way through, at least so far. But we'll have to see if that bears out. Dude, I just find it funny because especially platformers were always sometimes a little bit difficult, but they were never nut crunching. And now it's become, I mean, there were a couple. One of the Raymonds was really difficult. Strider was pretty difficult on the Genesis, but mostly because they were messing around. Ghouls and Ghosts was pretty difficult on the Genesis as well. SNES, I think it was on too. But when I say pretty difficult, I don't mean anything about what we're talking about. Like when you see, because the added mechanisms and mechanics that you have in these new games, and extra buttons, you know, you may be using all the buttons. I'm talking Sega Genesis or Sega Master System, so that's 2, or Sega Genesis, that's 3 buttons at most. And now you've got bumpers, triggers, 4 faces, in and in on both analogs, and another stick. Well, technically 3 total sticks. You know, you're just like, damn, that's pretty rough. Somebody was saying the missed map is this maze in Silksong where the map keeps randomly changing, and you have these ghostly banshees chasing your ass until you find the secret.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Oof.
That's nuts.
That sounds rough.
Yeah, that's nuts. I think most of the platforming difficulty is due to the first crest you have. Onicia says like Guacamole 2 or Guacamole. Guacamole.
Yeah. Guacamole.
Because now I'm
hungry. Play on words there. Melee.
Now I'm starved. Actually, I don't even like that much. I'm just really hungry, man. I've been fasting for 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, I had to take a blood test. I fasted and then forgot to eat the next day. And then I woke up this morning and my wife fed the dogs, and I smelled the dog. This is not a lie. I said this in our Discord. My wife fed the dogs, and I go, man, what smells so good? My wife's like, dude, that's the dog food. And I was like, I've
done that with cat food sometimes, where it's like,
she scooped it out, and I was like,
really good.
Yeah, whatever they were. This is no, this isn't the hard, Chex Mix looking stuff. This was like some soft meat food, probably horse meat, but whatever it was, I was like, damn, that smells good. I realized I'm hungry. I think overall, though, 2 really good releases in last week. Really good for sure in context here with Borderlands issues overall, but I'm happy to see it come out, and I'm happy to see it back up the gameplay stuff that I was sort of wondering about, like what would it change, what would be fun if it would work out. And it seems like everybody I've talked to, regardless of their performance, they either want to play it and are like, damn, or they're playing it despite it, which is also damn, but they're still enjoying it, that's cool.
Yeah, I've heard a lot that the story is much more, maybe not gritty, but a bit darker, less, of the dumb stuff. Still got the teenage humor kind of thing at times, but much more enjoyable overall, is what I've heard.
So somebody above asked if I was reviewing it. Not right now. No, I did ask for a code in the past. Luckily enough, we had somebody who was a contact there, or I did, who was a contact there, who was always giving me codes. He was very good at making sure I have codes. When that person left, they dried up. And this last time, they didn't even respond. I emailed a couple times, and I emailed way ahead of time. And I was like, yeah, hey, I would like to get on the list if you need any data. Nothing. Just not even a ghost, not even a pretend. We'll get a hold of you later. It was just nothing. So I bought it moment one, as I always do, even if I review. But this one, I'm going to play on my own. And we'll probably give, updates on the podcast. But right now,
cool.
I have enough stuff to preview and review that I was actually not too fluxed when that came up. I was like, all right, if they don't want to give me one,
there's dude, if you want to run
titles.
Some co-op, have your people contact my people.
Contact your people. All right, so I will contact you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, let's just
let's cut that to
drop
the chase,
the pretense there.
Well, I guess I do have somebody who helps me grab some comments and stuff, but that's about it. Speaking of that, we can look at those. But yeah, really cool to see him, man. Glad to see that game doing well. I mean, Silksong did phenomenally well, and so did Borderlands, and we have some more games coming out. And then this morning,
audio is amazing, man, as well.
I mean, it's Joshua.
They do incredible with audio, and this time it's crisp. Everything, like when stuff connects and the little sounds, the reload animations. I know I sound like a bit of a sellout. So far, I've been enjoying it a lot. These little things, like the reload animation for so many of the weapons is completely different, and they're super cool, like little details and stuff. I remember in Cyberpunk when you have this one weapon with Johnny that he reloads in a really unique way. I was like, oh my God, it's a different reload animation. This one has, like, every weapon, it seems, a different reload animation. So I really enjoy that type of stuff.
I don't see how you could be. It scored well. The people who are complaining about it, they're just not complaining about the gameplay. And so it's like, if you're enjoying the gameplay, then
it's also like my experience. I luckily haven't really been hit by a lot of the like, it doesn't run as well as I would like it to, FPS wise. But we've talked about it. I can play a game at 60 and be super happy. I don't need the 120. A lot of times. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's only, I mean, you can be unhappy with performance, but if you're not a reviewer, and you're not trying to give somebody a baseline, there's nothing wrong with that. I was going to say, of course, the audio is good. We've had those guys on the podcast. Got to talk to him a little bit a while ago. Obviously, no company secrets were given, but I was like, he seemed really excited about what was going on in this game. So for me, I would say overall, the audio is probably one of the standouts, but they're good at that, right? Like, they seem to be able to hit the audio well. And so for me, I think for the most part, everything, or generally everything I've heard about it, has been positive. Same thing with Silksong, like I said. And then the Beast got moved forward a day, so it'll be released a day earlier on a Thursday instead of a Friday. Don't quite know why that is, because they said, hey, because we got so many who get it, we're unlocking it on the day prior. And I was like,
earlier, yeah.
I mean,
that's odd because it's a single day. It's not like
it was weird. It was weird. Like, I don't quite know the ins or outs. Maybe there's a game on Friday that they're thinking that they don't want to go against, and they want a couple extra sales, or they're just like, we're ready.
Maybe they wanted an excuse to flex about the sales number.
Could have been.
So they're saying, there's
a psychological thing of mentioning how popular you are.
Yeah.
Because other people want to be in that. Now,
well,
not
it's
everybody,
like all the Instagram ads where they start with like millions of people have, bought this.
Speaking of that, hundreds in the low hundreds of people watch the podcast. So thank you to everybody who watched the podcast. And ours is an exclusive group, not a high group. I mean, we might be high. Somebody may be high. We're not high, at least as far as I know.
Definitely some will be high.
Some will definitely be high. We know that there's some who are definitely in their pajamas right now. Takedown. I'm just joking.
Takedown, yeah.
Takedown's like, fuck you, man. No, he wouldn't actually. He would be completely fine with it. Moving on from there, let me read what if we got some comments here. Okay, so this is I love the irony, and so whenever we get ironic comments, I like to ask to have them sent to me. So because I don't have a time to look at all the comments, especially across a week if I've got 2 or 3 channels plus Telegram, all that shit. Carrick takes this podcast too seriously, like a business. The next one says Carrick and Johnny are always joking, and it takes away from the news. There we go. We'll meet those guys halfway, and then nobody will like the podcast. But do I take it seriously like a podcast? A little bit, for sure. It's good data to talk about, and whenever we're talking about factual stuff, I do like to look it up. It's not always going to be most accurate or up to date, but we do try to look that up, and I do pay for people for coming on the podcast. So technically, yes, a business, and we also do joke a lot. Let's see. Silksong devs are set for life, Carrick. You're just making stuff up. Very next post. Carrick, financial guy here. I checked into the financials for Steam. Taxes not working from a specific point on. Inflation, loan payback, and was surprised to see you are right and who is or isn't set for life. Not sure about what loans they would have taken or if they offset the 7 years of dev time as well. But with life and inflation and the expenses, if a person just stopped working, I think people mistake how much money developers make. So there we go. It's just the way it is, man. You can't win for losing. Next one is, I'll ask that. Okay. No, here's a good one. Toughest time that wasn't a family death in your family. Like, what was the toughest time in your life that wasn't a family death? It's a good question.
Can we get a bit personal?
Well, yeah.
I got diagnosed with a chronic condition. So my walking sucks because of that. It's like really slow, limiting, difficult walking. Yeah, limiting. It's one of those, it's chronic, so you can't cure it. And when that dropped, it was kind of a big bomb. So that was definitely the hardest time, for sure. Just like trying to learn to live with that prospect.
And especially because you probably didn't know for a while. And so if the status quo is normal, and then one of my friends has, I'm going to mispronounce this, or I'm going to mistake. I think people know, but it's something like Jacob-Coats-Felt disease, or so, Jacob or something like that. And it's a little bit like Lewy disease syndrome or something like that, but it can fuck up your balance and your issues. And it was a friend's daughter who had it. And he was like, she was just bumping into stuff. She was like, her gait was a little off, and she was teens, I think. And it was one of those situations where they were like, well, we'll just take her in. Could be an ear infection, which is 99% of the time. That's exactly what it occurs. It's not a big deal. I mean, we are actually stellar at repairing things. It's like, it's not always that. And they found that out. And she had been, sports and stuff for a while. So removing that is definitely a shitter for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hardest. I'm not going to go with like being sick when I was young, but like hardest. Homeless was pretty rough because it was embarrassing. Well, yes, it was embarrassing. I don't know why I almost reneged on that. It's super embarrassing because some of it was my fault. Some of it was life. But sleeping in your car, luckily I had a car, right? I actually had gas in the car, and luckily it wasn't a super long time. That was embarrassing. And that was rough, but luckily I can say that my rough stuff happened when I was younger than that. After that, it's taught, I would say things are tempered. You know how you might have a bad day at work, but now you're like, yeah, but it's not as bad as blank. So it's like when you have that little milestone. I'm sure that, family deaths are the big ones for me. because I don't show much, and so sometimes I'm fine, and I'm like, I'm very scientific about it, and then sometimes for whatever reason I'll be like, oh, fuck. That sucks. It just depends on who it is and how close they are, obviously, to you.
Yeah,
but
and pets and stuff. It's also really rough.
Yeah, pets are rough. Do you know what? I considered that a family death.
Dude, yeah, me too.
There you go. I legitimately, I actually considered that a family death until you just said it. I was like, oh, well, I guess it's not unless there's something really weird, it's not a blood relative. But yeah, I did. I counted it as a family death. So that was crazy. Moving on from there, looking at the different topics we have today. Nintendo did a direct, and okay, listen, I wasn't unwholly unsatisfied with what I saw. They have created the remake like and remake light category, though. We are now fully in Nintendo just pushing that kind of thing. There were so many Nintendo Switch 2 version, slightly adjusted name version, remastered remix, remake like version. There was a lot of those, but there were a couple that actually interested me. We got to see a release date for Prime, which I got to say looked really rough to me. Rough, but we'll just have to see how that pans out. The big things for me was they had like 85 Mario games. It felt like Mario, or their Prime games, not Zelda, obviously. Those looked very cool. They also had the Donkey Kong, the DLC for Donkey Kong, which I thought looked awesome. It looked awesome. I want to point out that it's not my style of mode that they're doing in the DLC. In fact, when they started talking about it, I was like, that's not for me. But that doesn't stop me from saying that's awesome. It looked awesome. It looks like exactly what some of the people in the chats and stuff were saying, like that this is awesome. It's sort of a side mode. Let's jump in there and explore that. They had a, they have a weird way of doing their stuff, because I was joking with the guys. It's like they're robots when they do their announcements. Especially when you see other companies, whether it be Japanese, whether it be American, Chinese, all the different major developers and publishers have a different way of presenting. Nintendo's, I swear to God, and even mimicked a robot at one point, but it's so robotic in their way of doing things. And even the voiceovers for the games are like, you can walk to the right. Oh, what's this? That's a rock. And I'm all, man, it makes it sound like it's for a 7-year-old. It's not, because you look at some of the mechanics, you're like, that's obviously, or maybe not all 7-year-olds. Some of us were, played a bunch of games when we were 7. But that was the one thing I took away from it, was that I really do wish Nintendo would step up the game in their presentations, because it's hard to become excited when someone is talking like this. Yeah. And with that, just very, very stilted and old style. So
they announced the release date for Metroid 4 as well. December
but like
4th.
I said, you might not have heard me. I said, it looked rough. It looked rough.
I missed that. Sorry.
I felt it looked, no, it's all right. I felt it looked rough. It wasn't one of those things that like really excited me from a technical level. Mm-hmm. They were driving around in the desert and stuff, and I was like, damn, this, especially, I think it's just because it's had so many issues being developed. It does feel like a Switch 1 game, for sure, in its presentation and stuff like that. But hey, if it's fun, it's fun. I'll check it out. I will say also there were a couple games there that looked good graphically that I was quite like. They showed Resident Evil. I have no issue whatsoever if that's the graphic look of that game on that system. They were showing really good lighting. There was aliasing everywhere, which to me indicates that's real. There was none of the infinite level of detail you see on some of these games when they either show CGI or they show something touched up or they show like a really advanced upscaler with your DLSS. This was like, that's for sure the Switch. That's like, it was rough. They were showing like the hair. Yeah, it checks out. Everything about it checked out. They showed a cop car or a car, and there were these flashing lights, and it was like the stair steps down the front of the hood. And I was like, yeah, that's real footage right there. But it looked like it was aiming for exactly the exact same experience. And they announced 2 other Resident Evil remakes. True, but Village and was it 7? or was it they did Village and they did? I thought I saw what's seven's subtitle? Do you remember? Resident Evil 7.
Biohazard.
Okay, it's that one. It's that one. Do you know what I used to call it or think it was called? The House. I think I say it's the one in the house. When I say what's my favorite one, it's the one in the house. Because to me, Resident Evil Biohazard is like saying Carrick, because one is the Japanese name, one's the English. You know what I mean? So it's like Resident Evil, or at least in my brain. That's sort of what I think. What's up, Zaxby? And hi, cuties. Jeez. Zaxby. He's not high. He's horny. That's the difference, right? Takedown, probably in his pajamas.
How you doing?
Maybe chemically altered. Zaxby, just horny 24/7. Hope you're doing well, though, Zaxby. All joking aside. But did you see anything in the Nintendo Switch Direct other than Prime? Did you anything that floated your boat?
No, not specifically. Because a lot of the stuff like Hades 2, I've checked it out. I'm gonna wait for the full release. I'm not really gonna play early. And even if I did, I don't think Switch 2 would be the platform I would choose to play it on. So
that's fair.
Because it's a bit of a tough sell for a lot of the third-party games, because I can buy it on Steam and play it both on Steam Deck and on PC, right, with cross-save.
Right.
Or I can choose to pay a generally much higher price to play it on the Switch 2 only.
Yeah, true.
So it's a bit of it has to be either something exclusive or something that I purely only want to play on portable. I think those are the only cases for me.
Only cases. I would say that we're going to start seeing this more and more with the occasional exclusive there for whatever reason. Just sort of depends. I do like that they were talking up the technology, 120 FPS or refresh at least. You've got some improvements there. We'll just have to see how it delivers. I'm not the biggest fan, but what I did see looked awesome. Happy more people can get their hands on it. But I agree with you. Yeah. I'll probably play it on something else. Zaxby, $2 super chat. I'm always horn E. Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't shame that. I mean, unless you were here hitting on me, then I would be like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, I would say with the Nintendo event, probably the biggest news, and I would say the one that is the coolest news I just never expected, is the Virtual Boy. I couldn't get it all out. Sorry. Yeah. That dude, come on. It's a Virtual Boy. Like, what the fuck? And it's even got the torture device, that you sit on the table with the little stand and shit, and you put the system in it. It's like, dude, what are they doing? I can't remember what they said, 11 classics. I'm like, dude, come on. There's not 11 games that were probably on it in the first place, and 0 of them were classics. I had to live through that piece of shit, eye-boggler. I don't know what they were doing, and I don't know what it'll cost either. What do you think? Did they show a price for the Virtual Boy?
I don't believe so. No.
Dude, it's a piece of plastic. Oh, man. I don't know. And he's like sitting there pretending to play it, and you're like, come on, man. There's no way. No way. Nintendo, they go for it. I mean, they're like, hey, build your own VR system with Switch 1, and now they're like, oh, you don't need to build another one. Just buy the same one over again that existed 25 years ago.
You just can't imagine anyone playing that thing beyond the first day. Like, the first day you get it, you'd play it because it's the excitement. And then you literally just park that on your shelf.
I mean, I'm being honest here. I don't know of anybody who would be excited by it. I don't remember. I had friends who had that thing and they weren't excited when they played it. Like, the idea of going back, whatever. It's just an odd situation. And it really is just selling you a piece of plastic.
It is audacious to call it classic in any sense. Yeah. Yeah,
that was a surprising one to see them show that and just be like, wait, what are you guys doing right now? But who knows? 3 people may buy it. 300,000 may buy it. I don't think that's what's going to happen. They've shown that they can make stinkers. They also showed Mario Tennis, which I actually thought looked very cool. I don't think I've played one of those, maybe a small amount, but I actually thought that looked pretty cool. Something like I would actually want to jump into. Anything else for the Direct?
No. I think,
Then let's move on to the interesting thing. Pacific Drive's DLC announcement. Dude.
Whoa, I missed that.
12 hours.
That's cool.
Whispers in the Woods. This thing looks amazing, man. Got new group of enemies, new places to go, new anomalies, new map. Looks awesome. New upgrades. I mean, admittedly, it's not the multiplayer that I want, but I was not expecting to see a DLC. And so to see that announced. Sorry.
No worries. Someday we'll get a mod for it for like multiplayer.
Oh, dude. Should I pay those guys who did the Superman or Spider-Man mod? Be like, hey, man, can you add in? There would be a lot to add in for Pacific Drive. That would be a rough one, but I would love
because it's a whole. Yeah, you need to build stuff for the other person to do. Like,
yeah. But it would be great. It would be great. And who knows, take it apart, use AI to piss everybody off, because then they'll have that moral judgment of like, I don't want to support AI, but here I am playing this awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Well, by the way, on the Nintendo Direct, they had what sounded like generative voice in a couple of their games. And I wonder how they're going to be treated if that's the way it was. Yeah, they had a couple that were like, hello, my name is Johnny. It's just like, damn. Or maybe that's the way the person talks. I don't want to,
I was gonna say that with where we're at with with Gen AI and stuff, the voices are pretty damn good. So when you hear a really bad one,
you notice.
It's likely it's. Well, I'm thinking it might just
be on purpose.
It's human, or either on purpose or like it, because this sounded bad ones.
Right. No, you are 100% right. But however, you do need a 7, maybe a 1.5 to 7 billion parameter model, which is would kill a Switch, right?
Right.
But and yet, if that would be real time. If it wasn't real time, they could use the best ever. So it's sort of a weird. So what I was saying was it might be on purpose, where no one will be able to say they're not doing it, and they're just like, oh yeah, there's no way we would have a person do this. And it didn't seem to be whole blocks of text. It was just like these little one-liners. But we'll just have to see. I just thought it was funny because it seemed they're aiming for confusion. I'll say that much, as in maybe not on purpose, but there's going to be some confusion on exactly what they're delivering on that game, because it was noticeable right away. So it's just like, that'd be fun to sort of see how that discussion goes. Let's say Pokemon Legends. Whatever. New Pokemon farming style title. Whatever. What?
No, it's just you're discounting like a whole host of people who are super excited for these.
Oh, yeah, but they're shit. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks this new Pokemon is good. Like the Pokemon DLC for a shit game. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe everybody's really okay. So I'll say you are correct. So I'll say, dude, there's also Pokemon Legends ZA paid DLC Mega Dimension.
It does sound terrible. Yeah,
it does. And they went out of their way to say new paid DLC, which I thought was also pretty in the face. They didn't, how some companies would be like, we got a new expansion coming up, and they won't say the price. And you're like, well, is it free? Is it a part of the free? And a lot of these games have free DLCs, not free. They mix them. These guys were like, yeah, it's paid for sure. You have to pay us for sure, which I thought was, I'm actually okay with them just going straight out. And I would actually rather have that. You can get the discussion out of the way as quick as possible. But back on Pacific Drive, dude, so excited for that, man. The game's got a vibe, It's like it's just got a perfect feel to it, and SCP and survival, but not, or at least it doesn't make you feel as much like it's survival. Game is really well done.
Yeah, it has such a unique gameplay loop.
It does.
The combination of the mechanic angle for the car, and the fact that it is a bit of a jalopy kind of works to its benefit, because you have to do a lot of basic maintenance on it, because these like simple things are breaking at all times.
I think it's not only that, but it's the fact that it turns into an extraction at the end, because you have to extract. So they merged in 3 or 4 types of games. My dogs really do not like whoever's outside my house. Snuggles, $5 super chat. What's up, Snuggles? He says, excited for Metroid on December 4th. Was surprised it was also coming to Switch 1. Interested to see how it run, though. Yeah, that's sort of, it feels like it was Switch 1 for sure. And like Switch 2 was going to have your better FPS, higher res.
Exactly. Yeah, because their angle was, I think, 120 FPS. It's like one of the selling things they were talking about.
That's
so
awesome.
That does sound like, hey, we got the Switch 1 game. We just plug it into the Switch 2, and it's going to be able to run
Yeah.
this thing in 120.
Yeah. Listen, there was a lot of games in that. That was one of the better directs I've ever seen. I mean, and that's a low bar, admittedly, because it's a hard hit for me. It has to be certain type of games. But I walked out of that. Well, I didn't walk out of it. I stopped watching it, and I was like, "Hey, they had the Resident Evil stuff, that kind of thing. That actually looked quite interesting. Like there was a lot of good stuff coming on the device, and we have more people who are making games. It's just that the remake like and the remake light kind of thing that was happening was a lot. I think when I broke it down, it was about 80% of the games shown were all within that category or those two categories with 20% new. And I was like, ooh, that's tiny bit rough, because they weren't even really ports. A lot of were their games, and they're bringing them forward, and they're slightly adjusting stuff. Not slightly on some areas though. There were a couple things that they looked like they were really taking their time with. Hush Al Ghul, $5 super chat. I don't get why some AI seems to add dramatic gasps for air when reading, as if a person who's out of breath. I don't know why, other than whenever you're doing AI and you're messing around with voice, you either have to end on a line. Okay, imagine it's like Python or something where the way you do your tab ins, your indents actually matter. And there's certain ways in which you can do it and certain ways in which you can make it a smooth, complete discussion or the gasp, like you said. And a lot of people cut breathing out of their videos. So a lot of people either cut the breathing out or they minimize it with a limit or with a noise floor. So basically what happens is if it goes below, let's say 48 decibels, it'll cut off so a person can go and continue talking. And you hear a pause. Your brain's probably telling you they're breathing, but you don't hear the, and perhaps because all these AI were trained on data from the last 10 years on the internet, they're going to hear more of that. This is obviously probably why AI, when you ask it to make a web page, it makes web pages that even the developer who made the web pages can tell they're his pages it was training on. The blue and the purple, that's directly from specific web makers' pages years ago. And the guy who developed that apologized on Twitter. And he's like, sorry to everybody who wants to use AI to help you make a web page. I'm the one who designed all those pages that were a certain color. And it's everywhere. Reg and I've joked about it. You can go to Claude, you can go to Gemini, whatever. You have to fight with it to get it to break from this very particular mold. That's why some companies are selling their own advanced versions, because they've retrained it to get it out of it. It's one of the reasons why I think certain words are in there, and you'll have somebody say, these certain words are mostly used or more often used by AI. And I'm like, no, they're used by YouTubers, podcasters, people who have video. Myself, 10,000 hours of video. I can tell you right now, there's certain words that when I bring it up, I swear to you, they took it from stuff that I've said because it's just very unusual words. And I'm like, why would that be in there? Oh, I sort of understand why. It's training on all of that data. It's scraping all that data. So that's
do they do a lot of ums and things like that?
Yeah, you can have ums, but people remove ums, and when they train and update and retrain, they're going to try to remove those. You get them removed.
Yeah.
What's cool is something like Sesame leaves them in on purpose, but then you'll get the master, as I call it, where you'll start asking a question, and if the AI is trying to get updated data, it'll do a lot of ums in a row, or like where I got Randy Macho Man Savage crying when I asked him a question or had him try to do a voice and something messed up, and he was like, and he started crying. And I've had people be like, oh my God, that's like a ghost in the machine. I'm like, no, that's because you have thousands upon thousands of man hours that you've trained it on, and a lot of it's crying. News. YouTube's drama YouTubers. Drama YouTubers have exploded. That's where it's gonna come from. Sully, $5 super chat more for the Fluffer Nutter Fund. There's always somebody who remembers every single joke. I appreciate it, Sully. Been enjoying watching you stream, by the way. It's nice to be able to get to yak at you and learn a little bit more. Let's see, what else for either that or Pacific Drive? I don't think they said the price on Pacific Drive. So I don't know if that one's new or if that one's... Oh, sorry, I don't know if that's free. I don't think it is as big as it is. I think they said 10 to 12 hours. I can't see them doing that for free, right? Can you?
Right? No,
Okay.
no, I don't think. I think it's fair.
And then they also
Get like
showed
10,
Final
15.
Fantasy at the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
They show which one's that?
I think it was Integrate.
Yeah. Right? The next one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I believe so.
Wait a minute. Was that Integrate?
Or was it Rebirth?
I think it might have been Rebirth, because isn't
verify.
Integrate just the short DLC or the short
No, Integrate was
interlude?
the expanded version of the first one that included the DLC and stuff.
Okay, I got
and some extra things.
I got you. Makes sense. Lucas says, "Yo guys, enjoy your weekend. What's up, sir?" I believe that's Cyanide, actually. How you doing? Hope you're doing very well, as always. Let's move on to the next bit of news. It's been a fast week. Let's see here. Oh, I think we already talked about Vampire the Masquerade dropping out, refunding everybody, and stating that they're going to relook at the clans. I think that's the smartest and possibly the only fix you can actually do is just jump out of it, try to rejigger what you're going to offer consumers. I just feel like now's not the time that you want to be restricting the actual main clans in a game in your DLC, right? Like, that just seems so stupid. Then we also had a rumor that I think WB, there was a little bit of news about WB. Whew, that's a bright monitor. We had some news about WB possibly being sold, I believe, to Paramount. Was that Paramount? Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if it was the games division or not. Just some news that ran across the desk.
I was going to ask, is it games or everything? Because that would be crazy.
Dude, I just have a feeling that's what we're going to be seeing for a while, especially with these companies that, like, if they see too many lack of success on too many games, we're just going to start to see them switching it out and being like, all right, well, we're not going to do games for a while. We're going to drop, somebody wants to buy us.
Wrap the games division.
Wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up. Yeah. Hopefully that's not what happens. Oh, real quick, also on the Nintendo Direct, just one more thing. Monster Hunter. What was that? Memories? Monster Hunter Memories 3? Dude, I thought that looked good. That might just be me, man. Maybe nobody likes that game, but what I saw that, where he's like flying the dragon, going over water and stuff, I thought artistically it looked awesome. I don't know. It may just be that I was surprised by it, but what I saw actually looked very cool. Did you get to see it? Did you get a chance?
Like visual novel style?
It's cartoony. It's like Monster Hunter, but it was like a little bit more cartoony. Yeah.
Cool.
Cell shaded.
I didn't see that.
And then Johnny, you have here Ghost of Yotai map size confirmed. What does that mean? Because I didn't see that news.
Yeah. They talked about it being the same size of the original map, but with the difference that a lot of it is going to be accessible. While some will be gated behind story events, a lot of it will be just open and accessible more than the original. That's what they said. But they said it was at least as big as the original.
So do you think that means like, because I haven't seen any of it. Do you think it means like where one area was rocky and mountainous and you really couldn't go there even though the map enclosed that area, that this area will just be more wide open? Is that what you took from whatever you read?
Yeah, good question. So what I read just talked about it being more open and not as gated behind story.
Oh,
I don't know.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Because like
okay,
some story events led you to particular areas, and then all of a sudden you could maybe go through a gate into a castle, and that opens up another area you can go into. So I think it's just going to be a little bit more like Assassin's Creed.
Damn. That's cool. Hey, yeah. I can deal with that. Lucas says, my second half went to her mother's for 2 weeks. It's chilling time. How about you do some Dragon's Dogma 2, man? But this time, how about you save more often? So I think that's Cyanide who had the Dragon's Dogma diabolical save situation. And you can play and beat Dragon's Dogma. You probably already have. I'm just joking. But that's cool that you have some extra time on your hands. Do you seek out games when you have extra time on your hands? Like, okay, let me give it a different way. Let's say something happens to your business. I don't know how it would happen, but something happens to your business and it's shutting down for a period of time or whatever. You didn't plan on it and it doesn't involve you. So you have like an extra 2 or 3 days. Would you plan on that?
No, not necessarily.
Do you plan? As in, if you do have extra days, are you a big planner, or are you more like, we'll see what happens when I wake up on Monday?
The only times I plan is when I have to take days. Like usually it gets to the end of the year and I have a bunch of days to take, holidays to take, because I don't take that many throughout the year. So I have to like think, okay, when am I taking these? You know, outside of Christmas, which usually I always take a little bit. Then it's, when is it a cool time to take some days off? In this case, I took next week off because I thought, you know what, Borderlands is around. That's going to be a good time. I can play that. And even if that didn't pan out for some reason, there's like Space Marine 2 that I've been enjoying going back into. There's a lot of cool stuff I want to play. So it's a bit more less programmed than that, but it's when I'm feeling like I'm also feeling like playing games, so it makes like both line up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It lines up a question or a topic that came up last night, and we were all joking around. Somebody said, "Hey, man, I don't know what game to play. I don't know which of these 3 games I should play. I don't know if I want to play a game, blah, blah, blah." And it's sort of stressing me out. And, you know, we all jumped in. We were like, dude, don't be like, of all the things in the world to be stressed out. And he was like, no, I'm more just joking. But it did sort of cause the discussion to blossom out into, like, do you feel... Cyanide says, LOL, that still heats. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, man. That Dragon's Dogma story was hilarious, at least to me. I didn't live through it, but hey. But I don't know. It just feels like I don't get any stress if I'm not going to play one. Like I'm not one of those type of people that's like, okay, what do I play next? But I didn't do that prior to reviewing. Like, do you ever, if you get done with a game and you have a couple, do you ever feel the drive to, I need to play the next game? Does it sometimes come up? Does it never come up? Is it always there?
No, I don't know. I'm just always excited for the next one. Even if if I just finished a game that I absolutely loved, I'm never thinking about like, I wish I could replay that or like erase my memory and play that again. I'm always just thinking, you know, excited about the next thing I'm going to play.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it was an interesting discussion because I'm sort of fascinated by the psychology that goes, the back and forth that goes on about gaming, because I still hear people say, or there's still a bit of a stretch that comes up, and I hear people sort of hint that they're still thinking along the lines of a guilt with games. I've had people say, I'm wondering if I'm playing games too much, or I'm wondering if I should take some time away. And I think we talked about this in the mini, and I know you and I in the past have talked about it. I don't remember if we talked about it last week, but I don't think I've ever once had guilt towards any hobby. That might be because I don't gamble or whatever, but I don't have that I don't have an addictive personality, I guess, in that way. But I don't know about you, but when I look at books, I would never go, man, I need to stop reading. Shit, dude, the reading's taking up my time. And the reason why it bothers me is because, let me give you the example of what I was trying to explain to people. Is I was like, I'm not quite sure why we would say that with games, which require input and thought and complexity, where a TV show, which is just Netflix and chill, you're okay with, or many of the same people in the discussion that will be okay with that. And I'm like, are you saying it's because of the defrag nature of like a Netflix and chill, where you don't feel bad for watching, we talk about you watching Lost for the 3rd time, 7 seasons or whatever, but you're sitting here saying, I don't know if I should play a Telltale game because maybe I should stop gaming. And I'm just wondering if it's still an artifact of the older days of where there was some kind of guilt around it. And luckily I didn't have that, because if I did, I don't know if I would even be able to do what I do if I had even just that slight feeling behind me. And I'm never one of those people that's sitting there mini-maxing, I'm not doing enough of this, or I'm doing too much of this. That to me that's what a robot does. That's a graphic equalizer. It needs to be flat like a monitor. Like, I don't understand that thought process. But at the same time, I'm pretty good at doing it just because I am doing a bunch of stuff. Maybe it would get out of control. But
yeah,
I
I think the fact that you do other stuff, like a lot of other stuff, you have your airsoft, martial arts, all this other stuff you do, that naturally puts you in balance with these things.
Maybe so.
So you're not the kind of person who's just going to degenerate at the computer 7 days in a row, like not even take care of your body.
Yeah, true.
I'm not saying this is the case for this person, by the way, not throwing that on you. But I think some people, they kind of go too much into that, and that becomes their only thing. And I think having several hobbies or several things gives you a great deal of balance, and you naturally bounce to the other thing when you've kind of done too much. When it starts to feel like, you know what? I've been gaming for 3 hours. My ass has become a square. I'm going to, go play some guitar. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to maybe go watch a show. I think you naturally bounce to other things when you have several hobbies.
Correct. But I guess my big thing is, if we live in a world where everybody's telling you to do what thou wilt, which is the whole of the law, then if you do just want to play games, if I'm sitting here hearing everybody say, you can't tell me I can't smoke, you can't tell me I can't smoke weed, you can't tell me blah, 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 then who am I to tell you, and why would you feel guilty over games? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there is a dichotomy there that continues to pop up where it's like
there's a value association with gaming being less than
there is. Dude, I swear to God, I would say in a weird, it's funny you mentioned something. You said you might be thinking my ass is flat from playing games. I'm going to go play guitar. How many people play guitar standing up? Not many. You stated go stand up because I think your brain fixed that right away. When you said it, when you explained it, you said go play guitar or stand up. Like, you added stand up right away because your brain, I think, was going alert. Those are both sitting down. But you're so
yeah, true.
And that happens with reading. I'll see people say, yeah, man, I'm doing too much of this. I'm going to go read. And I'll be like, well, that's not healthier. If we're talking about body stuff, that's not healthier. But it's just an interesting discussion.
Down.
Yeah. But in a world where we're trying to tell everybody that nothing is wrong and you can do whatever you want, gaming consistently, even with people I know who are reviewers, even with people I know who are other people on podcasts, even with friends of mine, I have a couple of friends that will get very down on games. They will just start going like, oh, I'm doing too many games. I'm like, well, are you becoming, like, let's say violent? Even though I don't believe that they translate to violence. I think many things translate to violence over many years. Like, so it's like, are you? No. I'm like, well, then what is the problem? It's probably that little bit of an outside worry. And I've had it too, where somebody will say, yeah, I played games today. I guess I really didn't do anything. And I'm like, okay, well, if the game's got reading in it and the game has tests of skill in it, then are we saying that like checkers players who are professional don't do anything? Or chess players?
Yeah, it gets super weird.
It gets. But anyway,
and
I
don't know about you, but growing up, there was this narrative of when you get a girlfriend or a significant other, you stop gaming. Yeah. It was this idea that when you get hitched, let's say, and you have a partner, now you can no longer game and you have to do either productive stuff or stuff with the other person. Well, I think that doesn't make any sense. I think that you find someone with whom you're compatible, and it might not be that they also like gaming. It might be that they like reading. So they go read a book, you go play your game. I don't see why you would have to.
Can I also tell you that
I don't view it as a bad thing. Like, you have to grow out of it.
I view it as a bad thing if you say the other. And the reason why, I'm not going to say dangerous. Like, people overuse dangerous and stuff way too often. If my girlfriend and I are dating and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop gaming, that is intrinsically changing a huge amount of input, output, dopamine receptors, how I deal with things. I am not the same person. And I do believe that if you massively change on one day, even if what we would consider to be a small thing, like you're not gaming anymore, that will change your attitude, your time spent, what you're doing. If you're now doing stuff you don't necessarily enjoy, you're not parsing out the new activity, there is a very high chance the person that you're dating is going to notice a difference. Like, and they may think it's positive, but if you're not thinking it's positive, then you're setting yourself up for that 7-year failure of a divorce where you're like,
oh yeah,
we got hitched and he changed. And it's like, you know why I changed? Because goddamn, every single thing I did that was fun stopped. That's why I changed, which that's unfortunate, right? Like, that's why I do think, obviously everybody should moderate, but it's just an interesting discussion. I just still think it'll be a while before games become, well, for example, I think games move me a little bit. I think books move me more mentally. And you see this consistent desire to remove violence, and people are like trying to connect games to violence. Okay, whatever. If you can, we can talk about it. However, many a book has caused a revolution, but a game hasn't. There is something that is, for me at least, really, really almost like a farce when we try to be like, okay, so these amazing words that people consider classics, revolutionary books about doing all kinds of crazy stuff, books that teach people certain thoughts, we're trying to say that doesn't do it. I don't want to ban books. I don't want to ban games either. I do not want to ban any of them. Well, I've heard people say, oh, are we going to go to banning games? It's like, well, dude, how are you going to do that? I've got 1,000 titles. Are they going to come to my house and try to take my Sega Genesis? Like, you have that kind of discussion all the time. I lived through it with, I can't remember his name. There's a congressman in America who he hated GTA. And rightfully so, that he should be bothered. But it's okay to be bothered by GTA. I was bothered by I played GTA, and you're like, you can beat up the prostitute. I found it funny, but I was still like, whoa. I told you GTA 5, is it 5 with the torture scene? I think it is. And and then also the first person mode that they added, and I played it, and I was like, whoa, that's a different thought process of, that's a different experience because of the viewpoint. One's closer in, and it changes that viewpoint. I like talking about it, but I did, that kind of stuff would suck. You shouldn't just, you can't just ban shit. You got to figure out a way to, like, like you said, to balance it, I guess, that kind of thing. Yeah. Always be cooking. PLN 25. This is an important topic. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, you bet. Yeah. I mean, this is something that I do. Trevor torture. Yeah. Thank you. Which was rough. Trevor torture was a hard moment to play through if you were not expecting it. And I had a lot of people who were expecting it who were not at all happy with that particular moment in the game. I enjoyed it for its surprise, for its like, whoa, that was weird kind of moment. But that was about it.
Yeah.
I remember when they went in on the ragdoll effect, and when the person grabbed my car, it hit different. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. Ragdolls do feel different. When you like bump somebody with a horse in Red Dead and they freak out and shoot everybody in town because they're trying to kill you. That shit's awesome. But it did feel weird when you hit somebody and they fall over a certain way and you're like, ooh, that's sort of rough. Moving on from there, though, let's talk a little bit about GTA 6 just for a second. So, multiplayer out a while. You have console version coming and then PC version coming. Do you think it's a year? Do you think it's 6 months? I'm still trying to figure out like what I think of this. Do you think game comes out single player only, multiplayer 6 months after that, PC version a year after that? Or do you think it's a year? Or do you think it's tighter? I don't know if they've stated openly that multiplayer is not coming out day one. So, because I haven't checked into that. So anybody in chat, if they've stated for sure it's not coming out, I would like to know. But what do you think of that, Johnny? Like, what do you think? What do you think's the best plan for like a GTA, or what do you think they'll do?
I think what they'll do is a year for the PC release, and only after they're going to do multiplayer.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. Partly because it's so difficult.
Go ahead.
To orchestrate that change from the current one. But yeah, do you think they would do that quickly? 6 months, 1 year?
It feels so weird because this has been so long that's why I was asking you. Because I love the mystery of gaming, because a lot of times you don't have a lot of mystery. So, you sort of know what the time is for a company, but this company in particular, and any company that splits up their multiplayer, single player, we've seen that happen before, and they're not the first one to split single player, multiplayer, do whatever, release one, wait for a while. So I was just sort of wondering, I think most likely it'll be a year, but I know that sounds negative, but I feel like, how about this? If it sells like the hotcakes everybody assumes, I feel like it'll be a year because they're going to really want to split and they're going to want people salivating. And that's just the way they work. But, that's me being the sarcastic ass I am. Because I'm always of the assumption that they'll do that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm seeing some stuff about leaks regarding that. It will be day one.
For online.
But it will be two different for online, but it will be two different editions. So you buy your single player and then separately you would buy into the online version. Again, these are not official, so can't really say anything definitive, but that's what I'm seeing.
That's an interesting one. I just wanted to ask because it popped into my head. Next up, we got Night Rain, New Depths, Incremental High Difficulty Mode. What in the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, so they released a whole new mode where you do a run and then you have options of going deeper, which means my understanding is you do now a new run.
But you've got
it's
your
almost
stuff.
like New Game Plus. I don't know if you retain your stuff or not. That's something I'm missing from the data there.
No worries.
But the idea is you have like tougher enemies. They have different weapons, sometimes different moves, sometimes new enemies. Sometimes you'll be invaded by special bosses and stuff like that. And that you keep going. So you go like depth 1, depth 2, up to depth 5. And each time it's more and more difficult. There's more stuff thrown in. And you have specific relics that you can find in these modes that only work in these modes.
Sweet.
That give you, some of them give you really great buffs, but they usually also have a debuff, like a pro and a con. So you need to, you're picking up something that's going to help you in one way, but it will be a drawback in another way.
Okay, man, dude, I'm telling you, once again, what are we looking at? We're looking down the barrel of a bunch of games coming out and a bunch of games holding me back. I mean, Division's adding a ton of stuff. I only like a couple service style games, but I do like a couple. And it is crazy how some of these are extending. And I'm not saying extending to grift. I'm literally saying I find that to be a value add. It's find legit, a lot of the Division stuff content. To be a value add. Yeah. Not everything. But yeah, and so you have this situation where it's like the new game comes out. You were saying, we look towards the new games. We don't think too much about, did I miss this game or do I want to replay it? But there's a couple service games you replay. I mean, I don't know what League of Legends, I would assume MOBA service game, like it is that.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you go back and play that. I go back and play Division and a couple others. And then there's MMOs on top of that. But dude, the amount of extra, I guess I would just say gameplay chops some of these titles are continuing to deliver is nuts.
Yeah.
And
Space Marine 2 is
Space
another
Marine
great
2
one.
is exactly. Yeah. And I get where Silver's coming from because he said, what was it, a couple days ago, somebody was like, oh, gaming's at its worst point. And Silver's like, now Silver's older. So he's probably like me where there's a little bit of a different thought process with somebody who lived through the shit times. And we did. And so I lived through times where you would buy a game and there would be a save bug or whatever, and there was no patch, right? It was like you would go online and hopefully a programmer that was questionable, Sergey from some place writing this code, hoping it's not malware, and they would help you fix a save game. And so I sort of get where he's coming from, especially when you look at the amount of offerings. If you take a wide look, if you like just some particular things, maybe not so much. But I do think that's what's cool is the idea that people have so much that they can go to, especially cost-wise, because that's a big deal as well. But I didn't expect Elden Ring to continue with that kind of support. Honest truth, if you had told me when that game came out that there would be this kind of DLC, the expansion, I know it's standalone, but it's like that expansion, I would probably have said, no, I don't see them doing that. It would probably be connected to the main game. And instead, they have two platforms, or sort of two in a weird way.
Yep.
And there's it's pretty fucking cool. You know, it's like, I mean, there's definitely shit that sucks in gaming, a ton of shit. But there's also, if you take in the wide realm, there is some amazing.
Yeah, some of these have been incredible. I mean, Helldivers, they have the, really interesting content. They got the crossover with Halo. Space Marine just released all of their year 2 roadmap. And their biggest update came out as well the other day or the other week, where you have it's a whole set of new weapon versions. It's the heroic weapons, where they have completely unique perks, completely new design. By the way, the power sword, the new one they created, I think it's the best looking weapon they've done.
Oh, really?
So far. It's incredible looking visually, and also really good, incidentally, in game. But yeah, lots of super cool stuff in there. And like, if you scroll down and you look at all the chapters that they have for customization now, after all they've added, the list is just phenomenal, man. Incredible amount of like customization you have in the game now. Super cool.
Dude, Vermintide's releasing new stuff. Like, it's like, what the hell? Because, I mean, I guess a lot of times I assume if a company moves to the next, they're going to the next, right? They're moving on. But yeah, cool stuff, man. It's definitely awesome. We're going to interrupt this podcast for a special sponsor, but it's not a sponsor. But I did want to talk. People have been asking me in chat, so I figure I will talk about it. This is not a sponsor. That was a joke. But we've been talking about, well, we always talk about earphones and stuff, or, like what we use to listen to audio. But I think I've already told you about these. What I've been doing is, so as everybody knows, I do have insanely difficult time sleeping, and to the point of it being pretty rough. And I'm not comfortable sleeping with headphones, but I definitely like beach sounds or wind sounds, whatever. Cranked, by the way, cranked. Not saying it's good for me, but it makes my brain not be able to think, and it has absolutely changed my sleep schedule. So I get like, now it seems small, but I get 5 instead of 3, which to me is, I can't even explain.
Dude, that's almost double.
Dude, I can't even explain to you the sheer, like I'm in love happiness that I can get 5, because I don't necessarily feel worse or better, but I do worry about, as you get older, you're supposed to watch that kind of stuff. So these are, anybody can get these. They don't have to be this brand. They're called Soundcore. So these are a little bit different. I'm hoping this doesn't do anything when I open it and doesn't try to sync. But what they are is I've told Johnny about them. They're an ear clip earbud. So what they do is they clip on your ear and they don't go in your ear. My ears get itchy no matter what. If I put, the only ones that haven't really done that are the Neura, and I had to buy different earbuds to stop it because the originals made my ears itch. I don't like to be penetrated. So my ears were always itching. So I got these, $39. They sound really good. They clip on the outside. No one can hear them, but what they have is a little baby speaker that aims at your ear hole. And so you can still hear everything outside, just like open-ended headphones. But what's crazy about these is opens have a tendency to still play your audio to others. These don't. Zero. Like, I can crank them and you can hold them right here and you can't hear a thing. And then if you turn the thing, you have to, like, it's very directed. It's beamed formed audio. They don't hurt when you sleep with them, and they last for about 8 hours, and then you got the case. I can't remember. But any brand of these will do. If you're like me and you have a hard time sleeping, or if you have dogs and you need to hear if they're barking, or if you just want to try something a little bit more comfortable and you're like me who has a ton of earbuds, but they're never comfortable, they're called open earbuds. And I think for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been undercurrent, but I randomly found some, and they have honestly changed like a shit ton for me. They have made it so that I can do work outside. They have a pretty good range. Many do. I have a couple different ones, but they're super comfortable. And if you're like me, you have a problem sleeping, open earbuds, you should check out the form factor at the very least, because they are phenomenal. Sound wise, they're not the greatest. Like, you're not going to be getting, thrumming bass, but I will say that there are a couple brands made by Bose and a couple other companies who have gone out of their way to try to figure out bone conduction from your ear, getting bass, little tricks. They sound pretty good. The ones I have don't have delay, Bluetooth, but they have the faster of the codecs. They're not the greatest. It's not 2.4, but I just figured I would tell people because it's fantastic to be able to have those, be able to lay down, sleep, hang out.
Do you sleep like looking up? Or
no. I sleep
side?
I would say I'm generally 99% of the time a side sleeper, and then if I sleep on my back, I used to get apnea, especially when I was really powerlifting heavy. I would have the dream. I don't know if you've ever heard the dream of a sleep apnea person, somebody choking you. And that was happening a lot. So I just switched on my own. I was like, well, I need to sleep on my side. And luckily I'm able to control it. But yeah, it works quite well to sleep on my side. I do not sleep ever on my back, at least for too long, or if I'm exhausted. I sleep on my stomach if I'm truly tired. And I do the cross sleep. You ever done this? So normally you sleep lengthwise on your bed. I can't explain to you why this works. I don't even know if there's a science. I don't know if there's something to do with the coils. Occasionally, if I lay widthwise, if I lay just across the bed, dude, I sleep like a baby. I have no clue why. And sometimes my feet will be hanging off, but I'll just lay. I don't know if it's because you sleep on we flip the mattress, and I have an air mattress that actually does auto leveling and stuff. So it really shouldn't have an effect. I absolutely cannot describe to you, but a couple days ago, I last nap I took was probably 18, 19 years of age. And a couple weeks ago, I was really tired and I laid down.
There's some magic there.
And dude, yeah. It was like a good 7 minutes, which to me is a nap. I know to other people it wasn't, but I can't turn my brain off. So the idea of sleeping for just a second was like, oh, that's
so
interesting.
even having the thingy-majig on, you can still sleep on your side?
Yeah, you can. It's crazy as long as you don't have a heavy, hard pillow. Which, I mean, I would even say if you did, it's probably pretty difficult, but they are phenomenally good for sleeping on your side. And in fact, I've noticed that how do you sleep? Do you sleep on your back, or do you sleep on your stomach, or do you sleep on your side?
It's kind of half and half, either back or side. Depends on the...
Do you do hand to head or hand?
No hand. No
hand, because it's warm on your face, right? Is that why?
Yeah, it's not comfortable for me.
So sometimes I'll fall asleep with my hand there, and what'll happen is I'll move the earbud like closer in, so it almost becomes a normal earbud, and then I'll wake up going, "What the fuck?" Because it's so loud. It's like it like magnifies it. But somebody was asked, these are Soundcore, but you can get any brand. I just wanted to point it out because I'm super interested in new audio devices, and being able to still hear the environment around me is sort of important with having dogs and neighbors and shit like that, or hear the door. And if you crank these, I can't hear shit. Because they're just blasting, so it's very difficult to hear anything. Do we have any Discord questions?
Right, let's take a look.
We can answer for these. I sleep like an embryo, Raz says. Like an embryo. That is a vision. Thank you very much. Now we're screwed. I'm going to remember that forever.
Yeah, we got some questions. This one from A1 Nagel. Hey all, loving the Borderlands 4 commentary in Discord. Are there any life lessons you've learned from a video game or from gaming? I remember growing up with Contra and Battletoads taught me how to cope or deal with failure in a healthier way in life.
Does he mean, because Battletoads was hard? Does he mean he got his butt smoked in Battletoads, or that a Battletoad was talking about how to deal with life?
Was it tough?
Yeah, one of the Battletoads was really tough. It wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle tough. Like, I can't remember what that game was, Shredder's Revenge or something. That thing was, I swear to God, there may not have been an ending in that game. It may have just been like, we're done. We're going to make this one part super hard.
Yeah, because those games didn't give you checkpoints, right? Like, you had some lives, but, once you died, you're out, baby.
Yeah, it was like, what are you talking about? That's $60. All right, so...
Just restart the game.
A game that taught...
life lessons, learning how to... I've learned a lot of perseverance and tenacity from some games, dude. Like games where you have to stick at it and you suck, and then... but you like it enough that you want to become good at it. There's been some Souls games like that. League is like that. I've definitely learned a lot of the growth mindset from those games, where you really have to lock in on what you're doing and figure out what isn't working And that applies to a lot of stuff in life. 100%.
Yeah, I'm going to go away from the mechanics part, like learning that, like get good or whatever, because that's sort of the answer that you guys have already given. But I will say that I don't know if I'd say learn, but I've definitely I found myself interested in something because a game character was. And I would say that when it comes to how depression, as somebody who doesn't get it, I would say it's almost alien. And Longest Journey, Dreamfall taught me what it can look like and that it doesn't look like movies or whatever. And I remember playing that and seeing a character in depression and being like, oh shit, apathy. Okay. Like this is one version, like not the version I may see from family members or whatever who maybe are more aggressive about it or more like super manic or whatever. But this is the meandering depression that this character had. It was the one that didn't announce itself. It crept up and it fucking sucked on the person like a vampire, right? And I didn't know what that was, or at least I knew what it was. I guess I never saw it, and I got to see it in a game, and I was like, holy shit, they did a good job. I actually understand sort of what this looks like in the game at the very least. But what I find is if a character's got a hobby in a game, I will actually, like, it could be like a Telltale, or it could be an RPG where you meet somebody who's they whittle wood or something, and I'm like, well, fuck, man, I didn't know you could do that. Or they'll be talking to a character about something you can do, especially a realistic game or realistic world, and they'll say something. I'll be like, you can do that? And I'll look it up. So I would say skills, not necessarily like a life lesson, but skills or interests I've definitely taken from a game, where a game will pop up and be like, damn, that actually looks like that might be interesting. I'm going to check that out. Or the character says something that is a fact in the real world, but it's a fantasy game. I don't know what they would say, but let's say they, well, I like records because they sound warmer or whatever, just like for audio versus CDs. Yeah. And you might think to yourself, is that true? And then you go check it out. So I would say it's that kind of stuff that I pick up. Yeah. What else we got?
This one from Sully. How long before we get a boom in VR, before there's an Oasis Ready Player One adjacent? And what do you think needs to happen with VR games community to make it more appealing and to pass that boom threshold?
Well, let me answer this question, which popped up the exact same time that involves the same thing. And then we'll move to VR, because Super Chat actually is about the same thing. BT Mavericks, $5 Super Chat says, have you guys used any of the XR glasses? Opinions on those? I keep wanting to grab some, but I feel like they're 1 or 2 generations from being less wonky. Yeah, I have the X-Real glasses. I don't have an AR glass type like Google, but I have the XR glasses. As long as you adjust the nose piece, which you can either, if it's uncomfortable, but if it is comfortable for you, it's good from the get-go. Screen's phenomenal. It's really good for privacy. It's really good for like if you have a spouse or whatever, and you just sort of want to play a game and you don't want to be on a tablet and it's super bright. And honestly, especially if you get some of the cheaper, maybe 1 gen older ones, their screen is surprisingly good because it's not trying to do what a VR screen is trying to do, which is everything. These are just like, boom, here's a screen far away from you. And
yep.
I mean, Frankie just got some. Lord Addicts got them. I've got them. I thought they were going to suck. I've covered them before. When I first got them, I covered them on the podcast, and I was not super positive because there were some issues with me getting sick. And how they worked with follow mode. I want to lock the screen, because if it moves with me, every heartbeat moves the screen. So I had to adjust how I played with them. Once I did, I'm not saying to run out and get them, but I'm saying if you already know that, and then some of the other brands already have follow and stuff like that. So yeah, they're very good. Moving to VR though. Dude, there's so many problems with VR. I mean, where do you even start?
What does it need most, do you think? Is it better tech, less clunky devices, or
can we crouch the discussion in home VR, not walking around going to McDonald's with a fucking Quest on your face? We're talking about gaming at your house, right? Can we we'll just lock it down to okay. Because
instead of booting a pancake game, what does it take for you
booting up, comfort and size, big screens close, but it needs to be like an Unreal pair of sunglasses that just has the goggle sides to cut out all audio. That'd be your biggest one. That'd be your biggest one. I mean, and then the next is tactile. It just doesn't feel right yet. You know, you're swinging a sword and it looks goofy, and every game requires 5 or 6 steps.
And it's shaky as hell for some reason.
Oh my God, thank you for mentioning that. I just saw a professional presentation for the Star Wars AR game that's coming out, which is on Quest. And you have these toys that you can put on the table. It uses the cameras, which is another negative. Most VR headsets, the cameras are never great to show you the outside world. They're not made to be a secondary device in an AR fashion. So they don't really care that it's perfect. But I saw this and I was like, that looks great. And he grabbed something and I saw the ship do this. And I was like, man, it's so funny because humans, we're so accustomed to thinking we can put our hand out and there's no movement. And it's like, it's so wrong. You have
a lot of micro movements.
It's crazy how many micro movements you have. So there's that, But I would say also just I mean, it's not even really the power because some of the most popular games don't require it. But I will say with the cost and all that shit, it's got to make a step in one of those directions. Also, wireless means battery. I think your biggest thing is the battery. They're trying to do packs for the handheld devices. They're trying to do packs for VR. I've got a pack that goes on your waist, but it's still a pack. It's still a pack with a wire that goes to the pack that's not good enough to allow you to play as long as you want to play.
Yeah.
And dude, here's what's weird. If you and I sit down at a PC and you've got your let's say you've got your popcorn, your food, your cheese, your pepperoni, whatever, you've got your music playing at a specific level and you sit down for League of Legends, there's a very high chance you can go multiple hours without discomfort. VR is absolutely a stamina Dark Souls of displays. The moment you put a fucking VR headset on, you're at 100% and it just goes down.
It
never goes up, Johnny. No matter how many hours I've played, it never goes. You can take it off and you'll gain a little bit. You get that mana potion, but it's never a full one. It's a fourth.
Yeah,
right?
It's like your Zelda stamina.
Every single time. And so when you put a headset on, it's just like, it's almost like when somebody, if somebody is bothered by normal reading glasses and the pain here, of course you're going to be bothered by a small fucking baby strapped to your face. Because my dog just farted so loud. I can't believe you didn't hear that. Dude, did you hear that?
No.
It sounded like bed sheets ripping and somebody escaping from a prison. I am pretty sure.
Oh my God.
Son of a... Sorry, man. I thought that came through the mic. My God, it did. It sounded like somebody trying to escape from a prison. Anyway, so it is. It constantly removes comfort, and it never gets replaced until you take it off for a good period of time. So I would say comfort.
even really good ones. Like I have the Pico 4, which is a pretty good one.
I love the Picos. Yeah, dude, they're great.
Yeah, for comfort, they're pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
It's still quite a lot of weight on your face.
Yes, it is.
You know, even with good straps and stuff, the fact is that, as you say, that thing, the moment you put it on, it's just a ticking, you know, at some point you have to take it off.
Yeah. It's just consistently, even with the fans, you know, because I can't remember if the Pico, I don't think our Picos have fans, but no. I do have one headset that does. I think it's the really expensive Steam one. It's a Varjo. I think one of the Varjos that I have has a fan. And no matter what, man, after a while, you just get goggle pain. And you talk to any snowboarder. I've gone snowboarding. I don't know if you have, but or riding a motorbike. You put a helmet on or you put goggles on, whatever. They're on. Yeah. If headphones bother people, if earbuds bother people, if normal glasses bother people, of course a VR headset is going to bother somebody. And I think that that's where we are. Unless we get Abzi's idea of burning our retinas with lasers for VR.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, Abzi, but that ain't happening. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, I think also there need to be more full-on games that are unmissable.
Mm-hmm.
I think so far the only one that people look at in that way is, what was it? Half-Life? Alyx?
Yeah. Alex,
That's one where you would say you missed out if you didn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play it, but that's what we hear from people. I think you need like 2 or 3 of those big ones to get the FOMO going.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, you really missed out on some unique experiences. Because so far they've been pretty cool. I mean, some have been even great. You know,
Absolutely.
Fallout had a great version.
Yep.
some of these, but I think it's still a hard sell for people who don't have VR to get them to take the step. Even people who have VR to go back and plug that thing in.
And I think when you look at any kind of commercialism, if something is new and niche and hits really well, that's most likely going to be your industry driver for 20, 30, 40 years. Like, especially when you see, whether it be cars, whatever you may see. VR had that chance and passed it by. It's gone. VR didn't have to fight against Nreal glasses that could be connected to a handheld, which is a halfway point. And that's the problem, is there's too many halfway points. There's now a handheld that plays all the games. Yes, it's a screen in front of you, but it's one more purchase that requires cash. So if a person has $400, they are not almost ever just saying, what VR headset do I want? They're saying, well, I could get a Switch. Well, it'd be a little bit more than 400, but they're like, I could get a Switch, I could get a Legion, I could get a Steam Deck, I could get, do you see what I'm saying? And prior to the big advent of all the handhelds, prior to the advent of all this other stuff, there weren't these areas of competition that there are now, because VR really is a device that is trying to enter other areas by copying them and trying to subtly adjust them versus doing its own thing. Even Alex, which I love, really doing its own thing. Beat Saber, on the other hand, the reason why Beat Saber is so popular is really, when you look at Beat Saber, unless you're using a controller, generically, it's sort of its own thing. And that's why you get people who are not only addicted to Beat Saber, when you see them play and what they're doing, I just don't see how you're mimicking 50 to 70% of that anywhere else. That is a pretty distinct VR, or at least the VR is the premier mode.
Yeah.
You know, the premier way to play that. It's a very specific thing. And unfortunately, the competition, it's just not, I mean, look at Apple. They didn't even know who the fuck they were selling to. They had so many weird ways of doing their system. It was super expensive. It still wasn't the great. I mean, it did some things, but it was like you could get 50, 70% of that in a headset device that was $2,500 less, which is sort of ludicrous when you think about it. It's just, especially in the consumer industry where, you know, not everybody's got a bunch of money. Somebody else mentioned bad
we haven't heard about it.
No, we haven't. I mean, like it doesn't seem like it went well. So, yeah. So VR is going to be one of those things that, I don't think I think it did pass its time, and whatever happens, whatever comes out, let's say it was glasses that were ultra comfortable and as light as normal glasses, and somehow they still cut out the light. It's still now competing against places it never had to compete before, which is like handheld devices and other things. And difficult to sell it, man. I like it, but it's like airsoft. I like that hobby, but there's a bunch of niches to get there. Tons. Whether it be you don't like to aim a fake gun at people, you don't want to be that physical, you don't want to get hit, because some people don't like the pain of that kind of stuff. By the time you do 6 or 7, you've removed 80 of your friends out of 10. And you've got 2 friends who want to do it. And the same thing happens with VR. Whenever I invite people over, you've got about a 10-friend group, and I would say 3 would try it and might really like it, but they would need, 1 would probably just like it for tech, 2 would like it for tech and the uniqueness of it, and the rest of them probably would consider it a curiosity at the most, and an expensive one. That's the other thing, is the cost is just sort of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not ridiculous, but it's like, it's a lot.
I mean, I think for also outside of games, anything that you might think, oh, it's cool for me to watch a movie like I'm in the cinema. As much as that's kind of a cool experience, it's also, like we said, with the comfort, it is grating to have that thing on.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of you sitting back and watching a 2-3 hour movie with that, I just, I would never see myself doing that.
I mean, I would turn my lights off in my own room and watch it in what looked like a cinema anyway.
Exactly. Because, I mean, now for that price, you can get a baller TV and have a great experience. Not to mention that you can share it with people. So, you can be with your family watching something on the shared TV where everybody's seeing it. This idea that you're going to sit in a vacuum alone to experience something in VR. I just don't really, yeah, like you say, it's just so much nicer to just set up the room, watch something on the TV while you can easily, eat your Cheetos or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot more competition. Prices of, so the thing is I think a lot of people, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that. They're getting better and better. Correct. Competition has got lower and lower in price. And it's easy to forget all the other caveats that are going on when you start to like look at where something is if it doesn't hit right away. And then people see that AR saw VR not making it. So they were like, okay, they're not making it, but maybe we can try this. And then they become a competitor that branches off from the original failure, which is sort of what happened here. And, you can call it a failure, whatever. I think Valve has a good place to where if they did a good VR headset that was like big screen style, super small, they have the chance to see their version of success. But I also think people are forgetting what true success is. So to give you an example, we talk about some of the Steam Deck and all these selling a bunch, but let's say you sell 3 million of something and you sell a game to 10% or less almost all the time. Suddenly you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense financially for me to do that, especially if I've got multiple people on the team. And so you need to see that ultimate success. And I think in the past it was there. There were times where I was like, whoa, VR. I mean, I reviewed VR games. I still will if there's a good one. I reviewed Alex. I love the game. Those games are awesome, but it's almost like me reviewing for a game that only worked with ray tracing. If you understand what I'm saying, you can't even, let's say you can't even experience it. It's ray tracing required throughout it. You turn it on, it crashes. That's sort of what I'm doing because I'm asking for you to pay another $500 or another $1,000 so that you can even experience this thing, which is pretty rough. I mean, it's a big stretch. Here on Business, $5 super chat. No question, just jumping into support. Thank you as always for the quality dialogue. You bet. Thank you very much for the support. Pentagon Fortress says, yeah, I have my Meta Quest and even the second Walking Dead VR game, but still haven't played it because I don't get past the barrier of setting it up. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, it's not doing well. I mean, I don't know. I think Valve has a chance to do their version of well, but even the devs I talk to, none of them are working on VR anymore. They've completely abandoned it. And the problem is VR is part of games and the money's gone in games as a whole. As in the investment, a lot of that money's left gaming. And that would include the same exact people who would have invested, let's say, in a good VR idea. Also, we get some shovelware that's more noticeable in VR. I think that's the other thing. A VR shovelware isn't just low level, whatever. It's also that it might be unfortunately uncomfortable for the person playing it. Whether it be sickness, they don't have the money to polish sickness, the car sickness feel that some get, or what have you, or it's janky. And it's not the same as you not liking a game, right? And turning it off. VR might cause somebody actual real discomfort playing it. They might feel like very ill, which it doesn't take much for you to say, I'm not getting anything out, I'm not getting much out of this, at least. I'm not paying $500 and the possibility to get sick. I mean, that is weird when you think about it. Can you imagine if I was trying to sell you something and I was like, hey, dude, occasionally this is really good, but you are going to feel ill for a while. And no matter what, you're going to feel hot and you're going to have something on your face. Think about that. That's pretty difficult when there's all these other, trying to sell that's rough. But we'll have to see what Valve does. Hopefully they do it better
even when
than
you
Apple.
compare it to a console like a PS5, that's just a much easier sell because you have a bigger library of games. You don't have those things with the practicality of VR, where sometimes you'll get motion sick and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more you can do. It's much more general in a way, as much as it's a purpose-built thing.
Yeah. Macon Shin says the motion sickness I got in Boneworks would have me lay down for hours. Yeah, I remember those days. Can Ash says off topic from VR, but any opinions on Edmund McMullins, the creator of Binding of Isaac, new upcoming game? Negative. Haven't seen it. I'll check it out though. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but I haven't seen that one. There was one thing I wanted to talk about, and I was just getting ready. Did you see that Xbox Game Cloud So Xbox Cloud occasionally will fuck up and send to someone a higher resolution than normal. And I've talked about this before because it happened to me a couple times where I was playing and I looked at my stats and it was like 1440p and I was like, that's weird. Must just be a glitch. So the person who makes one of the Xbox apps to stream from your Xbox and cloud to your devices, like your handheld or your PC, he randomly found as well an update, I guess, in the system that indicates a 720 high quality and a 1440p resolution now, and one other resolution, which I don't remember what that one was. And this sort of goes in line with some of the stuff we've been hearing about Xbox. And, you know, they've got GeForce Now is in the Xbox Game Store now. When you buy a game or when you're trying to stream, it'll say, do you want to stream this on GeForce if you've got GeForce Now? So I think that's really a good step for them to make sure that they can offer better quality, because I think the quality on like Xbox just, it's not there. I mean, it's just not. It's like, and as somebody who thinks streaming is a great way for some people to get an amazing experience on GeForce Now or something like that, it's just Xbox is rough and it's all kinds of caveats. It's just like the Portal, super low bit rate, all that kind of stuff. So seeing improvements, I'm excited for it. I was Amunski sent me the link. I had seen it yesterday, but it was a paywall. God, I hate that shit. Paywalls.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it, but it's at the same time, it's one of the reasons why like we don't do patron only stuff, because like at some point it's like, well, fuck, because then a person just won't click. And what I find is if I know a certain page does like paywall, I just won't click it. And they sent me the paywall and I clicked it and it was like, you know, you must subscribe to see this. Oh my God.
Nope.
Scott says they're making a VR Thief Legacy of Shadows. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I still follow the games. Unfortunately, it's just not much. They're going to have some issues until they figure out, and there's a lot that they need to do. I don't quite know what they're, I don't see VR. Well, for sure won't catch on like it could have.
I mean, it's games, a hard sell. If someone comes super excited, dude, I'm excited for, to get a VR for the first time. What do I have to look forward to? Are there tons of awesome games? And you go, you got Alex. That's a game that came out 5 years ago.
I mean, look at what else happened. Everybody, including myself, I will fully take 100% responsibility. Unreal to VR, the people were making the mods that allow you to take the normal games and move them to VR and vice versa. I thought it was just going to be, I really did assume, oh my God, this is, we're going to see all these, or we could, at least. I was excited for it. And I mean, it bumped for a second and then it just went right back into the quagmire of niches, and it really just didn't pan out, which sucks.
Do you think they need some better controllers, like maybe for something that looks like a gun that you could hold?
Well, I've got 3D stocks and stuff like that are 3D printed that are great, but you don't move as fast as you do in a game in real life. And as somebody who does shoot occasionally, it just doesn't feel the same having a piece of plastic, aiming and trying to put that down and grabbing the handgun versus with the wands being able to just, switch or put the gun on your chest, pull another gun, whatever. Yeah, and I'm all for somebody fixing that. I just feel like we need almost a tensile strength thing. And of course, VR from Steam had that, but they were super expensive. They were another $250. So it's like now you have 500 plus 250. So now you're looking at 750, which then people are like, I can get 2 handhelds for that. One for my wife, one for me. You know what I mean? It's just, it becomes this quagmire. But I can't wait to see it break and have a couple super big games, because I'll still play them. For sure. Somebody got married. Did I see that? Oh, Paul Brickmonkey says, Paul and Eli listening from my hotel room in Italy on my honeymoon to watch the MotoGP after getting married. And you're listening to us? Okay, put us on speaker. And
no.
They're getting married, so I got advice. I'm gonna tell him
I thought you were gonna say
how to thrust right.
Right. Okay. I knew you were going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I got you. No, but appreciate you guys listening. Hope you guys are having a good time. That's awesome. Damn, that is actually pretty cool. Going to a MotoGP on a honeymoon is
Yeah.
that's pretty
Congrats,
crazy.
man.
That would actually be really cool. I mean, I never even thought about like going to somewhere else for our. I mean, we went somewhere, but I'm just saying, like, I never thought about another nation. That'd be cool. Dodger says, actually, I think it's bad to go VR and flat screen. It will never be a good experience that way for either mode because the way to play is too different. You're on speaker. Well, hello to both of you, dude. Should we do like the FM? I don't really have. We need to get what's a Warpig in here. You ever heard Warpig in our chat? He's like,
No.
This is KZ. He's got that fucking soft ass, but baritone. Yeah. And he's, I mean, he could be telling you, you for sure have cancer. And you'd be like, oh, that's great. Because the way he delivers his lines is hilarious. Dude, he's got that perfect voice, man. That perfect voice. But no, seriously, congrats. I hope you guys have a good time. And who knows, maybe if you get a chance, break into the racetrack and steal a car. And okay, that's bad advice. But I mean, if you can, do it. But don't. It's bad advice, but seriously, do it. Do it. Dude, driving an F1 would be so fun. Even a NASCAR would be fun, just going left. I mean, they're pretty technical. You ever seen that? Like, they got that, Starship Enterprise fucking steering wheel. They're like, I'd flood it in second.
Oh, with the minutia of all the little buttons and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Throw it into reverse at 600 miles an hour, or whatever the fuck. I don't even know if you can. Let's see. What else we got for questions? Anything?
Yeah. This one from Spetsu. Nintendo secured a broad US patent for summoning sub-characters to fight in games. So this goes back to the patent stuff with Pokemon, right? So they've been fighting against Pal World and I think other games that have done a similar like capture with Pokeball mechanic. I think that was the main one.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the idea of patenting mechanics in that way. And apparently, IGN has an article here that they have a patent for just in general summoning sub-characters to fight in games. It's getting crazy, right? Since the Nemesis stuff.
Yeah, I don't see how. I mean, dude, patents are weird too because you don't get to fight. It just shows up, right? So, like, if something is unfair and somebody patents something like that, then there's a rigmarole of every other company. And so currently, like, let's say there's a small company, this patent doesn't exist until yesterday or whatever. So up until yesterday, somebody had worked 4 years to make a game that is specifically like that, but it doesn't look like, it's not like a Power World thing. Let's say it's its own thing, right? And that's what it's about, is summoning based on friendship. Let's say it's a Care Bears game, right? You got to be Care Bear stare, man. You got to take out the enemies, got to make people like you. You summon these characters in that are sub-characters, and then Nintendo, out of the blue, patents what is considered to be like one of the most widely, I mean, okay, let me tell you this. Imagine how shitty the world would be. You don't even have to be into this to think this is shitty. If Magic the Gathering patented card collectible games. Some of my favorite games are some of these side card collectibles that aren't Magic. That would be ridiculous. Or mana. It wouldn't even be in Diablo. Like, imagine somebody just saying, okay, mana and health, a system that involves mana and health, we're patenting that. You're just like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Like, you're legitimately patenting just generic things now. That is
because
really
this is
odd.
so general that
it's very
a lot of games would fall under that. You know, just think about summoning stuff in Final Fantasy. That's kind of, you know, you're summoning a sub-character fight.
Dude, do you know what I just thought? You're also restricting fucking remakes of games that maybe some people want that are classics that haven't been remade yet, like a Phantasy Star. They don't do summoning, but older games that came out years ago that maybe somebody's like,
sure,
why haven't we got a remake or a remaster? It's like, well, because Nintendo's sitting on the fucking patent for breathing. I mean, imagine patenting a sentence like, sup everybody, or patenting buy, wait for sale, because I've heard like other channels will take it and they'll be like, hey, somebody took buy, wait for a sale, never touch. And I'm like, dude, there's nothing I can do about that. Not only that, but they're words. They're fucking words. I can't even patent my name. If there's anything that I feel is personal, it's my name. Of course, it's not personal, but it feels personal to me. But how would you patent that? How do you patent summoning a fucking, like, a side character? It's ridiculous. That's like patenting A and B and just being like, you can't put A and B on your controller anymore. Or X and square, whatever the frig Sony's is. But yeah, dude, I don't know.
Yeah,
this
nuts,
patent thing is getting nuts, because what they really need to do is they need to hammer down like Sony did on Tencent. When Tencent, by the way, this is not the only time this is going to happen. Tencent is doing this on purpose. That test, that I believe firmly that was a test. Release something that looks like Horizon Zero Dawn, or at least show some development on it to see how far you can get into new industries. Yeah. And luckily, Sony was like, no, you fucking don't. Come on.
Nope.
That's ridiculous. By the way,
I got to take a short break.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
by the way,
I'll be right back.
That's all right. By the way, like when I talk about ridiculous, what's even more ridiculous about that is it shows just how lack of forethought that is. That means even if they spent a year making like the Horizon ripoff game to get as far as they did so that they could show it, and then people were like, what the fuck are you doing? That's still a year where those developers could be making something that was new and fresh and looked different. I mean, Jesus Christ, you could have said dinosaurs and steampunk. And there's all kinds of stuff you could do there, like that you don't have to do, but they ended up doing it, and now they're paying the piper. But it's not going to be the only time. You guys are going to start. This is one of the things I've been talking about for like 4 years, where whenever, especially certain industries and the way certain groups do it, they're going to come in and they're just going to try to do what's happened with like manufacturing, where it's like, we're going to copy everything. We're going to buy your product. We're going to play it out, and then we're going to try to copy it. Luckily, it seems like Sony was like, and more companies need to do that if we get to these specific, super deep copies like that. We'll have to see. It's just one of those things where I hate these patents that come up later, especially because, like I said, you guys, I mean, I can't name any off the top of my head, but imagine patenting something that stops a remake of a game you like. For example, I love Panzer Dragoon Saga. So if you're just out there going, well, we've decided to patent riding a dragon and having a saddle and fucking upgrading your dragon character and training it via voice, it's like, Jesus, you just stopped one of the greatest games of all time getting a remake. It's not happening, but I'm just saying, if it was, it's a killer, man. It's a mind. It absolutely bothers me. It's just crazy. And they're going to feel it out as much as possible. Like, this is something that I've always hated about Nintendo, man. They definitely still have that mindset. Somehow, after all this time, even with a failure or two, great success, but even with a failure or two, they have a different mindset, and it's sort of my way or the highway kind of thing. And it works for games right now. They're doing my way as the highway on. They have the only handheld that's also dockable. They've got the way they're doing their games. But at the same time, I feel almost tired, because I feel like people just not people, but they consistently get away with shit, and they're always testing the waters. Even though I like a lot of their games, But ACG, did I miss the Borderlands 4 topic? Yep, that was very starting. Anthony says, I'm going to patent the word "the." Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, it's killing me, man. Fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Man, you got back fast. Did you just walk? Do you have like one of those chamber pots? You just walk out the corners. When you're time pressured, do you have a problem peeing?
Sometimes, yeah.
I hate that.
You'll be like, dude, I can't afford to take long. And
you're like, dude, I'm missing Mission Impossible, bitch. Would you just hurry the shit up? I've always had that. Even as a young kid, is just like, whenever time sensitive, I'm like, I need my time. Come on, give me a second. This bladder's it's not helping me out. So I think we've talked that one to the end, but basically it sucks. We'll have to see how it goes. They try to get away with shit. I mean, it's Nintendo, man. It sucks. What else we got for questionos?
This last one from Not Dev Guy. He's now Not Dev Guy.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's now Not Dev Guy.
Yeah. Hello, gents. Asking a question about a topic I'm sure many people care about. With how niche they are, what do fighting games need to add or change in order to draw more people in? Things like pricing model, Riot's 2XKO, best name. Yeah. being free to play, for example, single player content, customization, etc.
Yeah, and game fighting has really become niche. I mean, it really just has. It's become really hard. I mean, even Sega was saying that they weren't going to do a virtual fighter until they really figured out what they could, I guess, feel like they were stepping to the next level. But I've talked to Dev about this. The first thing I would say is the number of characters. I grew up with a virtual fighter. It's got 8 characters. That's it. You know, when you start out, now Tekken's got 32 with DLC, I think 28 without. I could be wrong on that, but I think he was saying, because we talked about this a little bit. But I would say the number of characters is a big deal. Number of characters is huge. There also has to be a way, and Fighters Z tried this, where they tried a newbie mode, I guess you'd describe it, so that new people could get in. They've really got to make it so that a person can get in and they can play and they can feel that curve of skill going up without being crushed religiously by people online. Like there's got to be a system in place that, dude, because you'll see somebody who thinks they're good and they'll go online and it's like, and everything's broken, right? All games that go for a long time feel broken. So there's a lot of stuff. Oh, I will tell you this. I'm blown away. I told Dev this, and I actually wrote this down to do. I'm going to cover it in a video, not just this, but there is one advent of fighting games that I'm stunned is not in all of them. And that is audible cues for the timing when you train. So when you train in real life, when you train in boxing, you will always religiously have somebody there calling out the moves when you're doing them. They will tell you the moves in a cadence so that you know what cadence. They'll have you, while you're in fights, you will hear people say like 1, 2, 3, you'll have blah, blah, blah. So there's been 1 or 2 games that I know have done a little bit of this, but here's what I would like. You go into Virtual Fighters training mode, and it not only shows you what you're entering, what you need to enter, but there is also a character that quite literally tells you the button presses in the cadence you need to hit them. And here's why.
X, Y.
Exactly. What's XX, Y versus XXY, right? And when you see them sometimes, that comma or that dash, some people will think, oh, it means dash forward. Or some people see the comma and they're like, what does that mean? Does that mean that I can hit it?
Yeah.
Each game will do it different. I honestly, every time I don't think I've ever trained somebody in my life without being there audibly. And we were just talking about it a couple days ago, and it randomly popped in my head. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like, we don't have that very often. I think all games should have that. So you can understand ABBA, and you're like, okay, ABBA, I get that. And you can sort of, you're saying it in your brain anyway. And how many times have you done it in a fighting game and you're like, was that ABBA? Or was that ABB, hold BA? And some games won't even show you that. What's the timing? What's the, and if you can hear it and say it, and the dojo guy is like talking to you out loud, the trainer, whatever it may be, is doing that audible, I think that would be a huge bonus for newcomers to hear it, see it, and all that, and be able to just be like, okay, I sort of know exactly what I need to do.
I think I've also never seen a good tutorial that explains you the thinking, like what moves trump other moves. You know, if you're going for a low kick, what's that good against? When should you use low kicks versus high kick? You know, it's just all available to you. And when you have all those options, what us casual, me as like a super dirty casual in those games, I find maybe 1 or 2 moves that really work for me, and I kind of stick with those. But I have no understanding of, you know, what's good. Like, how do I understand what's effective under what circumstances? Should I even try to react to what the other person is doing, or should I just, you know, have the same moves every time? There's so many question marks.
And dude, we flay Destiny 1 for having its lore outside of the game. Every fighting game has that. Every single fighting game has, they might have a tutorial, they might even have a good block of text, but it's never the amount you need or at the level you need. Or not never, but it can be many times missing that nuance. So yes, it would be great if they were like, okay, this is good at this, or you'll have somebody say, oh, well, that character may look like they're good for this thing because their moveset looks good, but they're actually really good for this. And you're like, well, that's weird. Like, it would have been good to know that, moment one or whatever. Because you'll have like a fighting character or you'll have a wrestling character in a game that looks big and burly. So you're like, that's what you assume as a movement style that'll replicate that. But some don't. Some, they're super fast for whatever reason. It depends on what wrestling they've chosen to mimic for that wrestler in that game, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's weird, man. There's, I do think games, when it comes to fighting games, they sell sort of like Silksong, where they're like, nope, it's not more difficult. I think the same thing happens in fighting games, where they're like, they're playing to the audience because they want to get on Evo, or they want to get known by the big guys who are doing their streams. They want to have that kind of success, and they're not realizing that they're not growing, they're not growing larger to the casual audiences easily. The only way they do that is with an IP, and then the IP feels generic because you end up falling in the exact same problem as you continue to play that. You're like, why is this character not as good as the anime shows? And it's like, well, because you're probably not doing a move that you need to do. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah,
somebody really needs to almost take fighting games back to basics. Start way down at the lowest and say, let's recreate the training system. Let's not look at Mortal Kombat, or obviously you don't want to look at Mortal Kombat for this, but you know what I mean? Let's not look at these games that have come before, and let's rebuild this. We can still do those things, but we need to rebuild it on top.
Yeah. And, a good IP also really helps. Plus, if you can have a cool campaign on it, I think that's a big differentiator.
Fighting games are rough, man. They're in a rough shape right now because you're running out of martial arts too. And martial arts are becoming condensed, where if your desire is to look at, say, UFC, there's almost no specific one class fighter anymore. They have 4 or 5 different types of martial arts they're training in and that kind of thing. So in games, it's quite easy. Mantis Kung Fu. You're like, okay, I get that. He's walking around looking like a mantis. Crane Kung Fu. Okay, I get that. Bear Kung Fu, whatever. Daytona car and Fighters Mega Mix. You're like, I get it. You're NASCAR style, whatever. But UFC in particular, because they're mixing things, I think there's a dichotomy there too. Is like, what do people expect? Yeah.
Could you do something like perks or like a skill tree for a fighting game? I thought that might be your reaction.
I don't know.
If you have Ryu, but he's got a skill tree, and now your Ryu is quite different than someone else's because you've invested in maybe like kicks or.
So you know how Injustice did the armor, and that would give you pluses, and it would actually give you bonuses and stuff like that. I guess if you did it but when you said skills, I was legitimately thinking like new. Like moves that were unavailable whatsoever for a newcomer. Can you imagine as a newcomer, you've got like 3 kicks and 3 punches, and you fight. Now you're fighting a new guy who's not only been, or another guy who's not only been in there for years, but he's got like double spin dragonfly kicks, and you're like, yeah, okay, well this isn't going to go well.
The way they could make that work is if they have some type of matchmaking that puts you with people at your level. Someone at level 5, let's say, maybe you do only have access to 3 kicks, and that's part of the learning curve.
If the guy's really good,
they dumb it down maybe, and then as you level up, you get access to more moves or more advanced moves, and that also pairs with your understanding. And I don't know.
But can you imagine as somebody who's spent, you got your 3,000 hours in Virtual Fighter 6, and some cheeseball dickhead jumps in like me, and I just started out. I've got a level 1 character, and now you can't pull off half your moves. That'd be really confusing. I think you wouldn't know what combos did what stuff, or what you could pull off suddenly. So, yeah, I think that's a tough one. But I do like your optimism that people would accept that, or also that you could just matchmake, because a lot of these games don't have enough players that you can't even. So, for example, Turum's in Australia. If he was going to try to matchmake on a fighting game, if that game isn't immediately a million seller, he's talked about this a lot of times. He's just pretty much guaranteed to have leg. He knows he's going to be connecting to people far away because there's just nobody in his local area that's doing specific games. So yeah. But it'd be cool to try. I think there's some fixes, and then cost isn't really as much of a deal if you offer people the choice and an ease of getting in. But yeah, that's tough, man.
Yeah, free to play could be a good angle
Yeah.
if they built, a good foundation.
Yeah, because there's
around
been
it.
a couple
I could
that
see
were
that.
good, that were
Sure.
either free to play
What
or
was
low.
that one?
Killing
For
Instinct,
a while,
I
it was,
think, was like you got 2 characters for free or something.
Yeah.
And then you bought the game and you got more or whatever, but you could still able to fight. As far as God, that's been a long time. It was 360.
Yeah,
man.
and there was that Smash Bros. Similar game for
Oh,
PC.
those games. Yeah,
a while
those games.
back.
I think those games are where you could. I'm not when I'm talking about fighting games. I think we're talking more like Soul Calibur and Virtual Fighter and Dead or
Yeah,
Alive.
no, you're right.
But
Yeah,
no, what
yeah.
you're talking about is
It's adjacent.
That's
maybe it's
adjacent.
just
Yeah,
different.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely could be a thing. What else we got in there? Anything?
No, that's it for questions.
What else
in
we
the
got for
Discord.
news? It's been a weirdly I don't know, dude. It's been a weird week because I feel like the games we expected to come out did. There was no real surprises. They did as good.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did as even with some issues, did as good. So it's
Did
just
you
like
see those handhelds I mentioned to you? The Atari Go
yeah.
and the Giera Holomax is supposed to be a 3D. Is that sounded completely gimmick, but
Here's the thing, though. It is gimmick, but I feel like we might be at a spot where because there's so many offerings, they are just offering gimmicks because there's some people who buy it. They've figured out the manufacturing process, and it's like,
yeah.
do you want a dual? I don't know if you saw. There's another one that's coming out that's dual screen, like the DS. So like the old DS, but a full double screen one. And it's like, how many people are going to buy that? Probably very few. But if if it doesn't cost them a bunch to make, as in, obviously it costs money to make, but if it doesn't cost a ton, they can order enough to just satisfy the group of weirdos like myself who would try that out. But it's definitely an odd situation when it comes to where handhelds are, because there's a lot of them. Dude, there's so many handhelds. Isn't there a handheld where you crank a fucking wheel to power it or something? I'm not
I believe
lying.
so.
Isn't there? Yeah. Okay. I thought you were thinking I was making that up. Yeah. It's like
No, I think that's real.
What is it? Is it called the shame spiral? We were talking about people feeling bad for games. It's like whacking yourself, like religion or something like that, where you just have to be like, okay, I can play. I've done my work. I can play. If anything, if you were going to do that, I would say hook it up to electric sensors on your gym or your weight, your gym at home or whatever, and be like, okay, if you really want to go crazy, you can only play games after this many curls or whatever. I wonder if that would stop people. I wonder if that would stop people from playing games. I bet you it would. I bet you a lot of people would be like, fuck this, man. I ain't doing this. I ain't play. No matter how good the game was, some things just aren't worth the climb. I bet you a lot of people would be like, man. Nah, it's good. It was good while it lasted, but I'm going to read books. That way I don't have to do any lifts. That's what would happen, right? You'd have a bunch of people who would be like, man, I ain't working out to play your game. I mean, admittedly, it is a weird process. You have to buy the system and you have to work out to play the game. It seems odd. Member for 12 months, SBZ. Thank you for the stream as always. It's been a rough week, especially with the Silksong nerf. Devs, please stop pussifying your games. Didn't see that. Did you see Silksong nerf?
They nerfed some bosses, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That didn't take long. When did that game come out? Monday? Tuesday?
1 or 2 weeks. 1 or 2 weeks now already.
I mean, it can't be as bad as Falling Feathers that made it so you hug your bosses and have a chat with them. What a shit show, man. What a shit show. I have a conspiracy theory about that. It'll never be proven, but I definitely have a conspiracy theory about that whole thing. I don't think any of that was on accident. No way.
Okay, walk me through. Okay, I'm putting on my tin foil.
Dude,
what's the...
They're saying that somehow that game got through 5 years of development with tons of checks and no one who's played
they
it
didn't know that was going to be
but it's like, or we release it to American audiences who, of course, wanted to kill the bosses because, it's swords and shit. You don't hug somebody with a sword, so you kill them. And then they're like, oh, magically, after the refund period, we're patching this in. Bullshit. Personally, I already said this. I personally believe that's a big enough change. That is a massive enough change that you really need to look at the refund process and be like, okay, this is such a big change to the way the game feels, and even the narrative of the game is broken now. Like, man, you got to defeat these demons, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, man, I'm going to go do that. And I'm like, but we're just going to hug the demon. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? That is a huge narrative change. And a lot of people hadn't beat it by then. There's even people in our Discord, I would say, I don't know if anybody in the Discord who had beat it then. And it changes right in the middle of your play. Bullshit, man. And by the way, if this was anybody, I would say the same thing. Like if From did this or whatever, I'd be like, up in arms. I mean, I was up in arms about State of Decay removing one option because I felt like it dramatically changed the gameplay style. This one is like, it's a big deal. I mean, it wasn't even it's not even a nerf. It's the, I don't even know what you call it. Hopefully it never happens again.
Yeah. Some of these don't feel great. As someone mentioned, Space Marine 2, they had something where they nerfed the chaos enemies at one point, and they became quite easy. I think it's bounced back to a good spot now for balance, but that was one thing that felt a bit cheap, where all of a sudden they were quite easy to deal with, whereas before they were a cool challenge, right?
Right.
So it kind of like removes the need for your expertise that you've developed so far. Lies of P had a similar thing where they nerfed some bosses. And that caused the whole thing where some people were saying, oh, I beat the real version of the boss because they had beaten the boss prior to nerfs.
Okay. Yeah, I just feel like... Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. I guess it's just gradients.
I guess I just think as long as it's not broken, like it's bugged, or something. I don't really like changing too much the difficulty of a boss or an enemy. Again, unless it's broken, right? Or like literally it's...
As somebody who played...
imbalanced, unintended.
I can tell you, I don't know what difficulty we're talking about, but as somebody who played the higher difficulties on Space Marine, I can tell you that day one or whatever, it did not feel good. It didn't feel like super fun. It felt like what they were missing was some more gradients of difficulty. And that what happened was you got spongy and more spongy than normal, right? And even when I defeated guys or when we did beat it, I wasn't, it almost felt like, it felt rough. It felt rough. So they patched it a couple times and moved it back and forth. So I'm glad they did. But I do feel that might be a different thing than what we're really talking about right now, because that's like thousands of enemies and a particular enemy type that because of the way they move, they fuck up the engagement for people, or they feel odd. And they're a specific enemy type. I sort of do understand an enemy type and slightly adjusting them. So for example, with these bosses, if you're not even able to kill them, everything's the same. It just changes the entire narrative and you sit down and talk to them. That's a massive narrative change. The other one is one that a lot of people might play and not even notice, or it wouldn't change the narrative if the guys were easier. But I will say this, I wasn't a huge fan of the way the Chaos guys worked as a whole in Space Marine. I didn't dislike them, but I felt that their powers were how they were in any... It wasn't just their powers. They felt cheap. They felt cheap. And so what we're saying is they felt cheap, then we changed it so we felt cheap. And now it sounds like we both feel less cheap because they changed it a third time. So that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That happens, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Those games do need to be balanced.
And
so
sample
stuff feels
set is
good.
huge, right?
Yeah.
If I have you test my game, that's one thing. If I have 10 people test my game and you have
if everybody is saying, hey, it makes no sense that these little guys in Space Marine take 2 hits from my giant hammer.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely
and they're
had
chilling.
that in games. Yeah.
Right? Like, for a while that they had that. And yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense to balance it a little bit. I just, I prefer the tweaks versus the full-on...
I agree.
Here's a big nerf or changing how something plays.
Because I'm on the record. I do love me some broken games.
Sure.
Like, I do like an enemy.
Even like a difficulty spike can be
I love that.
legitimately fun at times.
As long as it's a spike and it's not a series of regulated spikes, which I believe, if we're talking about it in that way, may fit closer to the Chaos Marine problem. So like if there's a particular engagement that's just one-off and it's a spike, I'm pretty okay with that because I've had it in almost every FromSoft game.
Yeah, special
because
boss that or
my
like
inability to fight or pick up on a move or what, and you like you might find them easy, but I think in the majority people had that particular issue with like the Space Marines, so they did this. But again, they did it. They adjusted it up, adjusted it down. That's the way you should do it. Silksong, I don't know. I haven't checked out anything about Silksong. It's got a difficulty hardcore mode, right, when you beat it. And I believe it's also got a hidden mode. Somebody was saying something about entering a code at the start screen like a Konami game. I couldn't tell if they were joking or if I was misinterpreting what they were saying. But it also, this goes to the question of like, does a FromSoft need difficulty sliders, right?
Yeah, I strongly believe that it's okay for a game to have like a bar that you have to meet. And if you're not interested enough in the game to get to that level, then I think it's perfectly fine for you to bounce off and not play that game. You know, I played Hollow Knight for a few hours and I didn't like it enough to
continue
want
to
get good at
and get
it.
those skills.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I think that is actually how it should work. If there is an easy mode, then that's cool. That's an extra like resource that you can use to maybe balance that equation. And that's great. But realistically, not every game is going to have the resources to develop a well-crafted, easy
balanced
mode.
across.
Yeah,
it's not only that, but
you
it's
know,
like
those are hard to create as well.
Exactly.
Easy modes.
Exactly. And you have accessibility versus difficulty. Accessibility is like, can you enter the building? Yes, it's accessible.
Right.
Once you get in there, though, then the difficulty comes up, and that's really up to the developer. I want the developer to make it as accessible as possible. Meaning, because I have friends who like, do have issues, physical disabilities, whatever, or wounds from stuff. It's like those guys, I would love for them to have more chances to play. Accessibility controllers, what have you. That's all. That's great. But I don't think I've ever met one of them or talked later about them who's like, I wish there was an easy mode on this as long as the game was accessible. Meaning there was an avenue of getting in and generally being at the zero line with everybody else. If you can't get in on the zero line, like you've talked about color blindness, if the game is about color, it's going to be a difficult game.
Screwed.
It's red and you're like, dude, everything in this game, you're looking like the Predator. That's the other thing. That is what's interesting. Like, remember when the Predator, the first time you see it in the movie, he turns on his thermal vision. And you're like, that would be so fucking useful. And then you see the Predator's vision a couple more times in the movie. And what do you think to yourself? That's the shittiest vision I have ever seen in my life. Who the fuck? That is horrendous.
I can't see depth.
I can't see anything. That's sort of like the accessibility difficulty thing. Yeah, but it was, I remember the first time when I was a kid watching Predator and being like, whoa, man, he can see. And then suddenly it was like, wait, he's trying to run like that? And then after a while, you're like, there's no discrete levels. And he took it off, I remember, because they take off their helmets and they have their other type of vision. They're normal. And even that's still dog shit. And you're like, damn. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
That's
funny
rough.
enough, I felt that Expedition was not a very accessible game because for one, they didn't have any option to modulate the parry timing. So
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
It's my way or highway. So you're either meeting the very tight parries or you're getting hit and dying super quickly. You can dodge, then that was a good, that is a good solution for you to rely more on dodge. But if you were someone who has like reaction time problems, there was no option for you to have like an easier dodge time, or an easier time added. I felt that should have been there. They, should be there now, should have been there day one, in my opinion, for a game like that. Because a lot of people, by definition, will want to play a game like that for the story or for, it's a JRPG.
I agree with that, yeah.
People get into that. It's different than a Souls game where people are getting into partly for the gameplay, for the mechanics and stuff. So I think they should have seen that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it was tricky, man. Like, even people who weren't colorblind, they told me Luna's thing with the charges, with the
oh god, yeah,
with the stains, they were called.
Yeah.
And these were different elemental, like, little marks that you would grab as you played. You know, a couple or two or three of them looked very alike.
Right.
And again, this is even coming from people who weren't colorblind, let alone for someone like me who struggles at times. That was super rough. That was a moment where I can't really play the game the way it's intended, because I'm, you know, I can't really see, and there were no options for that. Yeah, it lacked a lot of options.
You know, it's interesting too that as we've moved forward, something that used to happen, it's rare, but it's still, I'm sure, as I mentioned this, I'm going to talk it into being, but I'm just going to mention it. When 4K TVs came out, they forgot to adjust the font size. You remember that shit? And so you'd have people doing subtitles and the font was this fucking big. And so let's say the character's speaking in a fantasy voice and you decide you're going to turn it to whatever fantasy voice because you believe that's immersive or whatever. And now you're screwed because they're saying something you can't see because the subtitle's this goddamn big. And it wasn't a ton of games, but it was enough games that you're like, damn, you know, that's actually like, what am I going to do? And I saw people just getting up to read the screen closer. And I was like, okay, that's odd. You know, I hadn't thought about that, but luckily pretty much fixed, but it's definitely a thing.
And it is weird because, as someone was saying in chat, they had a story mode, but that only makes your attack prompts easier.
Yeah.
Which are the easy ones, by the way. They're almost trivial.
But, yeah, the attack ones are weirdly trivial compared to the oddity of how the enemies are going. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But we're going to get a number 2, right?
Yeah, someone is saying that they had an option to make defensive parry timings more lenient.
They added it.
I was going to say maybe they added it after I played. I played on launch, and they specifically didn't have that. I remember looking very carefully for it.
Yeah. No, they were sort of...
So I'm glad they added it, by the way. I want to give them credit for that. But I would say I would have liked to see that day one.
Yeah.
Because we know a lot of people who
the ability
were put
to turn
off.
it off. I can't. I just know I saw accessibility patch because they did state on. I think they stated somewhere, it was Twitter or Blue Sky, where they were like, we are listening to like the very particular complaints about this one thing, and then somebody in our chat was talking about it. I think, but I didn't go back to it. Yeah, any of those games. You know, if they want to do it, they want to do it. If they don't, they don't. But you have to pay the piper if you know it doesn't work out. If you know, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I just think that for a game like that, not to harp on it, but it wasn't on the brochure. That was part of the, you know, when you sign up to that game, you're thinking, dude, I'm signing up for a JRPG. I go in and they have like really strict mechanics for parry. If I'm someone who doesn't enjoy that, I'm just shit out of luck. I had no options to work around it. That's like my only issue with it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I really liked the game.
Dodger's saying on day one, the story mode, parry time and story. No, that's not what we're talking about. Okay. That's completely different than what he's talking about. When it comes to a game like, let's say, a turn-based game that adds in the ability to dodge or the ability to jump, that kind of stuff. Personally, I love the idea of adding something to it. So it's not just turn-based, because I don't know if you've ever done a turn-based game like, well, let's say Final Fantasy has done a pretty good job with putting alternates or whatever. But let's say you get a game that's very turn-based style, and after a while, there's a staleness that pops up. Interestingly enough, the same staleness popped up in that by doing the move. So I'm wondering how do you make a game that adds the complexity to keep you engaged, which I do think is good to be there, but at the same time doesn't add a one-off that just feels like it's there to continue to do the same thing, to make you feel more engaged. But you know, after a while, that becomes repetitive. But all games are really repetitive too. I think that's the other thing. Longer a game lasts, you know, the longer the game lasts, the more that repetitiveness, even if you're good at it, can start to grate on you. Even the best games, man, like Sekiro, or, well, that's not one of the best games, but I'm talking about a mechanical game. There's always a game there that comes up that I'm like, okay, I really like this. And then when I get to the high level, I start going like, that's not, you know, like it's starting to, there's just a little bit of a grading. It's just one of those things that like sort of kills me a little bit. But yeah. Dodger says, Expedition 33 story mode provides a significantly easier experience by increasing dodge and windows by 40%. Yeah, it's cool. Hopefully they'll just turn it off if that's what they, if that's the plan, so that people can play it.
I'm just saying, I don't believe that was there like day one when I played. If I'm wrong, I apologize. That was my experience. I didn't find any mode to make the parries easier.
Oh, you're not talking about the patch? You're talking about...
Like, I'm talking like day one. I didn't see that option. So
there was there was an option, but there wasn't what I thought you were talking about, which was the one that like they legitimately changed the timings of everything.
Yeah,
I thought
correct.
you were saying,
I think what I saw was one where it removed the prompts for the attacks.
That's the one I'm talking about.
And I thought that's what I saw. I didn't see anything that stated that improved the windows for dodging and parrying.
Because
again, if I'm wrong about that, I apologize. That was my experience checking it out.
Technically, removing it turns it into your typical turn-based.
Right.
In a way, yeah.
Well, it only removed the attack ones, so you still had to do the dodging and parrying.
Wonder how they'll handle a sequel, Expedition 66. Like,
oh god,
if their idea, or will their idea, you know how some companies will release something, they'll change a mechanic, then they'll release a different game and do the other thing there, change another mechanic. So like, to give you an example, a lot of real-time strategy games didn't have the ability to slow down time. And then we started to see all those games where it's like, you can hit a button, you can slow down time, you've got a special skill to slow down time. And it sort of meanders back in over here. I'm wondering what those devs, because they're pretty good at like identifying a weird oddity that they want to do. It's like, what do you, like, what could you jump in there and do? I would say remove charm, right? Remove charm. Get rid of...
You really hated that mechanic.
I hated that mechanic.
Yeah.
I just think when it comes down to it, if you're looking at accessibility, as long as a person can get in, then the rest of it, even if I don't like it, it's totally fine. Like, I just think that's okay. Lou says, anyone feel like the brick wall, green screen, and no beanie for some reason feels like Carrick is streaming from a prison? Anyone else? No. You're the only person on the internet who feels that way.
Yeah,
but it's a blue. Did he say green? It's not a green screen. It's a blue screen. He's colorblind. I'm just joking, buddy. You're not colorblind. But yeah, it's too bad that it's too bad that became such a sticking point, as well as the weird menu systems and stuff like that. I think that for them, obviously it's worked out. I think other devs will probably look at those and try to do their own thing. And I'm also wondering what those other devs are going to like, you know, what they're going to throw into the game for turn-based. Hopefully, so I don't know if you saw this. I think it was PC Gamer. It was a big, that's unfair to say it was PC Gamer, but it was a magazine, stated under no uncertain terms, every single game now should require you to dodge and attack time in a turn-based game. And I was like, that is the close-minded discussion that I expect. Yeah, that is exactly the stupidity that I expect. That it's like, because blank, every game blank. And you're like, it's so weird to be in an industry where you constantly talk about individuality. Constantly. And then even the major players will turn around and be like, every game needs it. Every single one. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man, we're really at this point where, like, it's like if somebody has something that they add to a game, it doesn't immediately mean it'll work for you. For example, if you're doing boxing or whatever, you're really good at something, doesn't mean everybody else is going to be good at that. And you can learn it, but you may never be as good as that person. You don't always have to grab everything from everybody. Do you know why this bothers me so much? Because I had to live through every fucking game in the world being called a Souls-like. and I
I
never
know,
want to
man.
experience it again. It's ridiculous. I don't
Because
want to
we
live
had the
through
similar
every game.
thing with Rogue, Rogue Light for a while.
Yeah, well, or online. So
Yeah.
let's say online works for a game, MMOs, a big MMO, and you're like, this is great. Every game needs to have an online open world kind of thing. I lived through people saying that, and it was the same disaster. And I swear to God, we don't learn. I don't know why, and it's the very people that bitch about these kind of things are the ones that put out those kind of comments and are like, every game needs to have it. It just, it's like why? Not every game, man. Every game or every book doesn't need a Brandon Sanderson fucking arcane ass magic spell system.
Sure.
Did you notice? I had to swing it back to Brandon, but yeah, interesting discussion. Well, hopefully, we do see some more branching out from some of the genres, though. I just don't want a stamina Dark Souls system in my turn-based. I don't know how that would happen.
Oh, dude, stamina. Oh,
dude, what if they're like, what if I get a PR and it's like, it says something like, it is a Dark Souls Expedition 33. I would just be like, close, trash. Move on. I'm just joking. I wouldn't. I would.
I like what Hell Is Us did with, they took a spin on the.
Yeah.
Not really Souls, but more like stamina based combat. They made it kind of more arcadey,
far less punishing than I thought that was
going
to be.
Far less punishing. Yeah, because they gave you the key pulses from Neo.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
for sure.
They borrowed that.
Yeah. I mean, they ripped it off. They beat up Neo and stole it.
Yeah. But they heal you as well. That's unheard of in any.
Yeah, true.
Well, having something that heals you consistently like
Battleborn,
that.
Didn't Battleborn do this? I could be wrong on this, but I think the claim. Not Bloodborne.
Okay, because I was trippy for a second.
I apologize. Didn't Bloodborne have the offensive heal?
In a way, it was more a tit for tat system where when you got hit, you have the like gray health that you could regain if you land a hit, similar to Space Marine 2, the contested health that's like temporary. So if you hit back in that, in that small period of time, you would gain it back. So it's a way to like make trading hits effective.
Smart.
Smart. You're right though. That is some form of sustain, right? Outside of your consumable heals, let's say. But I think Hell Is Us went a step further. That's the single thing that I think makes the game much more accessible than anything else. Is that you're constantly healing with that. You have great sustain.
Well, they
and
did
I think that's a good way, to make it pretty accessible. Even for people who don't play stamina games.
And I think it's in combination with the enemies not respawning that made it amazing. That just made that game. It was fun to play the combat. I knew I could go wherever I needed to go. Game's gorgeous. Had really cool puzzles, some of the best puzzles. And I really did like the combat against some of the enemies, especially later on. So, and then the different weapon upgrades are nuts in that game. Hell Is Us has some very unique ideas on even the terminology it used. Well, the terminology it used is based on the world. That's the other thing I liked. So you know how many games you get and you're playing, and some games won't even try. They'll be like, this is a +5 damage gem or whatever. This is a gem of +5 damaging. And it doesn't really sell the fiction. That game has like ecstasy as a bonus on a weapon. And I remember reading it just going like, what the fuck? Now, does it make sense? It absolutely does. But I won't say how. But, if you continue playing, you'll be like, oh, damn. It's all in the fiction. Super, just a really good plan on their part. I really did think it was going to be rough, though, man. When they were like, stamina gets cut off to a cap of the health, I was like, oh, but then they, at first you're like, that's going to suck. But then because you can heal, now all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit, okay, I can do this. And it changes how it works.
Yeah.
But Shao Ghul, $5 super chat. Could a fighting game like Street Fighter function effectively as a turn-based game? Yes, and here's how I know. There are a couple turn-based fighting games that are on board games, and they work phenomenally well. Also, by the way, there's a Kickstarter going on. I think it's on GameFound, actually, that is for Tekken. and it also looks very good. But there are a couple fighting games that work really, really well in basically a turn-based, I guess you would say a turn-based, turn-based Street Fighter, because that's out there. I think it could. It would be weird, but I mean, you could do it, and I would love to see somebody try it out.
Interesting.
Overall. Yeah, it worked. I was quite surprised how well it worked, and the Tekken game looks like it's even better. The Tekken game is hex-based. There's like the movements, you can do 3D movement in it, just like in, Street or in Tekken, they've got 3D movement, where in Street Fighters generally, 2D.
Yeah.
And dude, it actually looks really, really cool. So yeah, I've played a couple, then a couple other games that have up close combat and ranged, and they still work pretty well. I don't know I don't know how enjoyable it would be, but I mean, you could. What were you saying?
Well, what came to mind when you were talking about the turn-based for fighting games would be like a Bard's Tale 4, but with the crew of Street Fighter, I could see that.
Bard's Tale 4 gives me a little bit of that nervous tension, because some of those puzzles in that game were.
Oh yeah, you had like some really bad puzzle situations.
Well, I mean, bad situations, right? Not necessarily bad puzzles, but for me personally, I don't know what was going on. My brain was not engaging with a couple of those puzzles, and I was like, is it broken? Is it broken? What the fuck? It was not. Yeah. It was thinking outside the box. That's outside the box that you put the game originally in a box to play. Like, it was out there. I loved it.
Did you see that Hell Is Us sent some physical
they sent a puzzle box. I did see that. Yeah.
Ko had one, a couple people. They were like physical puzzles that you had to unlock as you played the game with like clues.
There's a great YouTuber, Chris something. I'm sorry, I can't remember the full name. Chris something, but he does puzzle boxes that are
the big puzzle guy.
Yeah, the big puzzle guy.
He's huge. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see the games mess around with it. I really don't want to see everybody copy anything popular and just vomit out. And so that because if everybody thinks that's okay and only 10 people do it, then you have 10 samurai games like we do right now. And as somebody who loves samurai games, I'm still like, come on, guys. It doesn't take much.
Samurai.
Another in a world.
Yeah.
Path of Exile 2 did the puzzle. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
But
Path of Exile had I was going to say Hell Is Us has a couple of things I hope people iterate on, with the one being killing enemies is persistent. So you are clearing areas. I love the feeling of clearing areas and getting to a point where you've made it safe. It's now your playground to explore, and you can go do your puzzles without having to fight the same horde of enemies again. I love that. I want to see that done more. Of course, they have to balance it so that it doesn't become boring. Like, once you've killed everything, there could be a situation where it's just all empty. Maybe that's boring. But Hell Is Us did it in a pretty good way, where you're just always progressing. There isn't that feeling of too much backtracking on a dead space.
Like I said, it pushes you forward, because you can heal a little bit when you fight. So you can decide, like, do I just want to run by this guy? Do I want to fight? The guys behind me are dead, so I don't have to worry about them coming back alive. Again, there is that bit of a respawn when you go in and out of places. And I noticed one guy, I don't know if you heard the review, but I did have one weird one. So in the third or fourth area of Hell Is Us, there's a particular bad guy just near a waterfall. And he was gone. I killed him, no issue. He was easy to kill. Like, it wasn't even a hard guy. And I was exploring, and I was under the impression no one ever respawns, ever. And I come back. I still think he might have been caught in a rock or something, because I came back around without having done any. I did a cutscene, with characters, which might be what was going on. But I did a cutscene in the game, came back around. There's a guy standing there in the exact same spot. And I was like, well, that's odd, because that's never happened. So I think I got a glitch, or there's a very long period of time, or maybe there's a cutscene with a check mark at the end in the editor that's like reset and it shouldn't have, and it still had a reset enemies. It could have been something like that, but it was one time. It's so rare that when it happened, I was like, whoa, what's going on right now? Yeah, they did a good job.
I think that and the way they do objectives and quests is really cool.
Loved it.
Yeah,
even though it required brains, or
I was going to say, yeah, at times I have been lost or didn't figure something out, but I'm okay with that for some games. Again, not every game, but the idea that you have these clues laid out visually in the diagram, so they're all like connected, and you have these things you can kind of go explore, try to figure out and piece together. It's nice.
Game's definitely dark. I think that was the other thing that I was surprised. I mean, no spoilers, but there's definitely some stuff in there that I would use the word trigger, and I don't use trigger as a term almost ever because it's harder for me. I guess for whatever reason it doesn't
Warzone.
It doesn't cause me to stuff. There's some crazy shit in that game that I was like, what? Like, I was quite surprised by some of the stuff that was just happening. It was just like right there in your face. And I was like, dang. I like everything about Hell Is Us besides the lack of enemy variety and faceless enemies. I don't get how they're meant to be representative of human emotion. Sounds like you haven't beat it. But moving on from there so we don't spoil. What else do we got? Do we have anything else that's amazing and like any cool, amazing new news? Anything that's been happening? Anything game-wise?
Not too much. Outside of Space Marine, like I mentioned, year 2, pretty cool. They got a cool roadmap. Lots of new content.
What's the next big game you're getting? Or anybody in chat, what's the thing that's like this is getting into my purchase list right away, no matter what?
That's a good question. Let me pull up my physical written.
What do you have it written down so you can eat it if the spies show up or something? You're like, I got to eat this real quick.
I have here Deep Rock Survivor next week. I might check that out.
What is it?
That was the Deep Rock Survivor.
Oh,
it was
right.
Remember the one where it's kind of like a Vampire Survivor spin, but with mining and stuff with the Deep Rock world? Mm-hmm. That looked really cool. And then the next big one is probably Silent Hill F. I don't know yet if I'm going to pick it up, to be fair, but that could be a good like Halloween. Isn't that around Halloween? 25th?
I think so.
When is Halloween? Yeah. It's like October-ish. 31st.
You want me to turn off?
Alexa, shut up. Dude, I don't know what just...
Something went wrong.
Oh, she turned on for some reason when you said that. I have no clue how it got through my earphones or whatever, but that was crazy. Anyway, I think it's the 31st. I think it's the last day of Halloween or last day of October. I don't know. I don't celebrate anymore. I wish I did. I wish I did.
It's a bit.
I mean, we buy candy, but no kids come around because everybody's so worried about walking around with their kids that they do they do school stuff. So they like a school will have a haunted house kind of thing. But we used to go to corn mazes, and even a lot of that's been canceled. Wait a minute. Roadcraft Roadcraft. Sorry, I thought he was talking about the new Road King game. And I thought that came out next month. And I was like, oh my God, that's like my number one game. So stupid, but I can't wait. I'm definitely going to check that out.
When is that actually? Did they have a date
I thought that one was next year, but I could be wrong on that. Robert says Dying Light the Beast, Age of Empires 4 on PS5 and BF6. Oh, Jesus. Dude, that is so crazy how easy it is to forget a game. I have completely spaced Battlefield. Of course, yeah. I definitely want to try that out. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, Road Kings is next year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's too bad. Anno 117? Is that what it's called? Or I think you're doing shorthand, right? Is that Anno 117? Or is that... What is that new Anno game called?
117? Dude, not a lot is going on. Like back in 117.
I feel like 117, Ugar and Uflar would be fighting over a raw piece of meat, and that would be your game, right? I just can't remember. What is it? 11? It must be. Is it 1700? I don't remember which anno this is, but I love the idea of 117.
Dude.
Like, I love the idea of that, man. Because we've had a couple, like, sort of caveman RTS or turn-based games. I would play the shit out of that, you know? Where you're just trying to figure out what's giving you the shits, what causes people to die randomly.
Yeah. Maybe building a hut.
Yeah. No, it is 117. Oh, Roman Empire. I see. It was space on that. I was like, damn. Yeah, that's going to be, that's fucking.
Damn. Yeah.
I'm buying off on the idea of a caveman one, though. I think caveman one fighting off tigers, maybe riding them, learning what missionary is, because you probably have been copying the monkeys the entire time, just doing doggy style. I put it in the game because there's probably some kind of study that shows fertility rises a little bit with missionary style because of the way the uterus is. Science. Just saying.
Science.
So
we got to do a study. Let's conduct a study.
Science.
Let's get 50
Bob says,
people
has a
doing
weird
missionary.
sense of time. Greek and Roman high periods were 2,000 years ago. Thanks, Bep. That must have been what it was. But when it comes down to it, like, I would like to see your RTSs. So we had Age of Mythology, got Age of Empires. We got the new Warhammer one, because I know Amudski's always talking about RTSs. I don't know if you remember this. This is probably way before your time, but there was a single RTS I remember that was underwater. And it had 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had 3 groups, and I barely remember what the groups are. It could have been races. It could have been nations going to underwater, but this is 20 years ago, maybe?
Damn.
But so like Aquanox, but RTS underwater would be very cool, because we don't see that very often, right? I mean, we don't see it.
Yeah.
We don't see it a bunch. So I think
that would be cool.
Eternal says it was pretty cool exploring Roman ruins in Indiana Jones Order of the Giants.
Ooh. Forgot about that. Yeah, I want to go back to that too. Do you think you're going to do the DLC?
I will. Yeah. Dude, it's so weird. Isn't it? It's so weird to be in a post Indiana Jones game, because I remember that game getting announced, looking at it, just being like,
Yeah.
And you know, what's this going to be? And then we saw coverage or whatever, and you were like, you know, I don't know, like if that's going to work. And then we saw a video of the whip, and you're like, I don't know if that's going to work. It just didn't feel. It felt so clumsy. And then they showed it was still clumsy in the game too. Remember, there were the occasional times where I'd go to third person and back to first real quick when it was just like, it was sort of jank. But man, that game handled the puzzles. It handled the feeling of Indiana Jones. Definitely lifted up by what's his name?
Yeah.
Troy Baker. His voice, he did a great job.
I was going to say Bacon. Yeah. Troy Bacon.
Troy Bacon.
Sorry, Troy. Yeah.
Troy Bacon. Now I'm hungry. But yeah, man, they did a good job. It was great to experience that. It was great. Like nothing but positives for that game. Very cool to see them sort of branch out and do that kind of thing. I'm hoping we do get a sequel, like the rumor is that they already, well, not the rumor. They sort of made it clear that their plan was to do
He
more.
talked about how they did some scenes like almost 1-to-1 based on the old movies. Some of the starting scenes and stuff.
Very much so. Yeah.
Where they were guiding, like, okay, do this with your hand, type of thing. That was cool. That's pretty
Sounded
next level
vaguely sexual.
for acting.
Do this with your
Put your hand right there. No, right. Yeah, right there, Indy.
Bep says 7 degrees of Troy Bacon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What else we got before we wrap it up?
I wanted to ask you something.
Science?
So I've been reading this sci-fi book we talked about, Empire of Silence.
Dude, I look like a dwarf because I've slid down on my chair so much. Sorry. Continue.
You're like barely.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue. Sorry. That was just a weird thing I noticed.
Okay, so Empire of Silence, they go to a world where they have an orange sun with a pinkish sky and sort of green land type thing. So it's pretty unique. And I was thinking, if you could craft your own world, imagine like No Man's Sky, like No Man's Sky, you have all the different worlds, looks and stuff. If you could craft a world and choose like the color of your sun, sky, sea, land, whether it's raining, what color the rain is, like, and forget about physics. It doesn't have to make sense. But like almost artistically, like on a canvas, do you have a combo that you would go for, like color-wise, for sun, sea, land, sky type thing?
No Man's Sky has the, not occasional, but they have the red grass that looks like coral.
Yeah.
And for some reason, red grass looks so weird to me and alien, because in one fantasy book, there was bluegrass and they explained why chemicals were different and stuff. And I really like that. But red caught me by surprise the first time I played No Man's Sky. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, red's
I sort of
cool.
like that. Yeah, red was cool. The other stuff, I mean, dude, it's so crazy just on Earth how many different colors of a sunset you can get, depending on atmospheric, everything done. That there's been times where it's looked almost purple, and then you have that deep crimson, like that you get. Sometimes it just looks so amazing. I feel like I've seen them all. Blue, probably. I like blue.
Yeah,
but it would
blue
depend,
would be
'cause
insane.
Blue would be, but blue and red would be contrasty as fuck. That would look like an RGB, tester or something. I don't know. I'm thinking like red and blue would look like a really bad. It looked like those red and blue 3D glasses you got that were just shit. So like, I don't know. But I like, for me, the big thing about No Man's Sky, ain't the combat. That's for goddamn sure. But it's just seeing the occasional world like floating islands, which, Avatar made it normal now. But I remember finally seeing an Avatar was stunned at at their ability to deliver CGI that just looked, say what you want about the movie if you don't like it, but he was able to deliver so many fanciful things that
still to this day,
dude, it's
some
crazy.
of the most amazing.
As somebody who's loved sci-fi, you've always wished of it and maybe couldn't get it because of polygon budgets and all that shit. And so that's what I like doing, is like flying around and exploring those. Do you know what I'd really like? And I don't know the science behind this. I tried to do it one time with ChatGPT, but I think I killed ChatGPT because it literally stopped responding. I'm going to try again today because I bet you it'll work, but it was probably just busy. I like the idea of a moon that is so close, but spinning so fast that it still doesn't hit Earth. But I love the idea of like one that like, maybe you can feel the hair on your back rise because it's so close, gravity wise or something like that.
Yeah.
You'd have to have that thing spinning, and then it would have to not to destroy the atmosphere. Your winds would be whipping at like 800 miles an hour. There's a bunch of science there. I should probably ask Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's probably been asked this 100 times. But I do like the idea, dude, everything we have is so far away. And the one thing I love about sometimes playing No Man's Sky, if you're not talking about the janky ass 2 planets and a planet that occasionally happens, but like sometimes you'll see that planet, and I've flown to them using the no jetpack run out of gas hack where you can fly to other planets if they're super good. It takes forever, but that there's something about that that's magical. Or they'll show you an artist's rendition of a planet in our solar system with a close moon, and you're like, oh shit, that's so cool. It's right there. What if we put people on that and you could not wave to each other? Well, through a telescope, that's how close you were. That would be that. I don't know, something about that sort of magical. That's the kind of stuff I would like to see in the sky, or a destroyed moon. Because I grew up on Thundar the Barbarian, which is a 1980s cartoon, and it's after an apocalypse and the moon is shattered. And so in the sky is like 2 parts of the moon have separated, and then you see the debris field. Now, would it kill everybody on Earth? Yeah. Unless it perfectly happened and the shit went out, it'd be a disaster. But still, I loved, and that's sort of what happened in the cartoon. But I love that look, and there's a couple times in No Man's Sky where they have things almost distinctly exactly like that. Or the asteroid fields are really close. I mean, science-wise, that'd be a disaster of a planet to live on. I mean, you'd be getting fucked up every day. I mean, it wouldn't even take a very big one for you to, at least have some damage in multiple places. But I love the look of that. I also love the ocean worlds. I'm a big fan of ocean worlds, man. It's just that game didn't have a shit ton to do in the ocean worlds. But, well, it does now. Sorry, I take that back. They put in sea-doos or whatever underwater. But when you first played it, it was a little lean on the underwater stuff. I love that kind of shit.
Yeah, remember that water world in Star Wars, the
Geonosis?
Camino
No,
planet,
Camino.
I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
One
of my
they do the
favorites.
clones and stuff. Yeah, super cool. They didn't, have a ton. They basically only had the one building that they show.
Yeah, they
But
only
the
showed a
idea
couple,
of-
but
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
loved
it's
it.
cool.
I liked it for, I mean, there's all kinds of, now obviously for defense, it is weird because like that's where you clone people. It's like all somebody would need to do. I mean, it seems like unless it could go underwater, and I don't think they ever explained, like it could lower under the water, which would be an amazing defensive move. I'd just stay underwater the entire time. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, GG.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm underwater. You can't attack me. But I loved the idea. They also had the ones, I think it was in the first movie where they get with the gun and they go through the core of the earth or the core of the planet. They almost get eaten by the fish. I mean, nothing made sense in that movie. So if you don't remember that, they were in a
but fucking awesome though.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I love the idea. Man, when I was a kid growing up, I always thought the hollow earth might be real because like Indiana Jones had some books about it, and we didn't have the tech. We had the tech to find all this stuff, but occasionally you'd hear somebody finding a cave system. Be like, wow, this cave system goes down, and I would always be like, what's down there? Maybe there's not dinosaurs. I mean, I wish, but
yeah,
I just used to love it because a lot of the fantasy's been killed.
I know, like knowledge kills your science kind of kills some of your. Yeah, that's the thing with the distance as well between planets. When you realize, like, to get to any of these, you're looking at, a multi-generational. It's going to take like multiple lifetimes to get to any of these. And anytime there's like, oh, maybe there's a new engine. Nope, doesn't work. Oh, maybe there's a new wormhole. Nope, doesn't work.
It's just, it's almost like getting out of school and moving out from your parents who are telling you no, and then you go into the real world who reminds you no all the time on everything that you're just like, oh, damn, I was hoping. It's like, nope. But I mean, that is one of the things I've always liked. That's why I feel like, especially in sci-fi, it's not all the time, but it does feel like they've switched to other planets because trying to say it's us is a little bit less of a chance, a little bit more realism needs to be destroyed. So sometimes they'll jump to another planet. They'll be like, this race, they look like humans, but they're not, and that's really just to be like, oh, they developed technology at a different speed. So they have the ability, which is at the same time weird? Saying we won't.
The Kardashev scale. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's this scale. Yeah, Kardashev. This scale where you measure the power footprint of a civilization, right? So like the first one, the very first level is, I believe you're like harnessing all the power available in the planet. Is that right? And then level 2 is from the sun.
Yeah. It's like planet, sun, solar system,
and then
something. Yeah.
Right. Something like that. What's weird is that we're not even level 1.
No, we're not.
So we're not even in the scale.
I think we're 0.7 or something. One of the guys who did Cool Worlds, I think, was it goes up and down because another reason it goes up and down is because maybe you just have fusion, but you don't have solar or something. Like it adds a plus. It's almost like mini maxing something, but it's still a great idea. The only problem is like when you hear the story about a Kardashev, what is it, 2 or 3, where they circle a Dyson sphere.
Yeah, like a Dyson sphere.
The reason why I think even the people who invented it and talk about it later have an issue with it is because it's not just harnessing it, because you could build a Dyson sphere. It's actually harnessing it, and what are you using it for? Are you using it for life on the outside of that Dyson sphere? Like the outside, or are you star scooping so that the star lives longer? Star scooping is actually not a ton. They've even showed, so bigger the star, the faster it goes away. And so what you would do, star scooping means you basically would send ships almost like Elite, but they'd have to be huge, and they would circle it, and they would pull off mass, and they shrink it. And by slightly shrinking it, it lasts longer. So your civilization can go longer and longer before it does what it does its thing. I thought that was great. However, whenever you discuss like levels of anything, it always ignores the nuance of, which is fine. That's not what they were going for this, but it ruins the nuance of like different technologies harnessing different things. You know, what you would
Yeah.
what you would like, what would you do with it? It's like, we can harness it. Okay.
I think
But then do
that's
you
a
have the
more
manufacturing
practical.
to then, well, yeah, I
Yeah.
am practical on those. But
Yeah, because that was invented many years ago, of course.
yeah, oh yeah, it was a
so-
long time ago, but it's been
so
adjusted.
they were thinking about energy, but actually, I think what you spend it on, or is more interesting.
Is more
So,
interesting. That's
like
exactly
what's
right.
your level of compute?
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't need all that energy to have an insane level of compute
I don't know if you've
way
seen
ahead
this,
of
but
what we have now.
one of the cool ones that they were talking about, alternative like races or whatever, is if you got to a point to where VR felt real, or you have virtual upload or whatever. So you're born biological, you go to a certain time, and then maybe at 18, instead of learning to drink, you're uploaded to this digital heaven, whatever. They were actually
rite of passage.
Right. They were actually indicating that, a planet like Pluto in the cold, where the compute wouldn't cause heat, but you might still have a tidal force that you can, so it probably wouldn't be Pluto, but it could be a farther away moon. So it's using internal heat from the planet, and yet it's still cold on the outside. So you could put your servers there to remove the heat. And then you would have insane amounts of compute at absolute zero, or close to absolute zero. You wouldn't be absolute zero, but you'd be close. The idea of that I always thought was cool. I've read one science fiction book, I can't remember the name of, was asteroids that were sent out from a planet. A planet was going to be destroyed, and there was like a reclamation job that they did where they ended up, one piece, I think 2 were coming, and they grabbed one part. 2 were coming, one wasn't going to hit, one was. They got onto the one that wasn't going to hit, and they ended up putting their digital whatever life on that, so that they knew they'd just be circling forever. And then their planet got destroyed by the other one, the other side of it, which is sad as shit.
Well,
That's the other thing that's sad, is the idea of like your planet. So let me explain this. There's you were talking about looking out underwater and getting like, underwater phobia by seeing like the darkness of underwater.
Yeah.
There would be something haunting about still being alive and your planet being gone. Titan AE, which is a cartoon, did a pretty good job on what would happen to a race if their planet, what's the solidarity if you can't even
I
fight?
saw that when I was a kid.
So you can't even fight over, this is America, this is Canada, we're going to fight over maple syrup, right? We're going to fight over this border or whatever. That's gone. There's nothing at all. And what would happen psychologically to a race, at least for the first couple generations before they were born in it, and that wasn't a solidarity point for them. I loved the idea of it. I mean, it was sad. It was quite sad, like thinking about it, being like, oh shit, that's true. And they were saying like humans were the trash of the universe because whatever humans got off of the planet, they just had there was no solidarity. So they were all swashbucklers. Or I love that cartoon. I know a lot of people don't like that cartoon. I don't remember why. But Don Bluth's one of my heroes, man.
I like it a lot. It's one of the few I still remember from my childhood.
It's got a fucking Monster Magnet song during one of the scenes. Like you can't beat that shit. I think it's got Rob Zombie in a scene too. I know it's got Monster Magnet. It might even have Rob Zombie.
Oh, nice.
No. It's got Power Man 5. It's Rob's brother, Power Man 5000. This is
just had beautiful animation.
Dude. I adored that one.
Great.
Just putting Children of Time out there for peeps to read. Bep says. Peeps to read.
Children of Time.
Children of Time.
Okay.
Speaking of that, Nim is my favorite. Yeah, Nim is insane, man. The owl is still one of my favorite characters of all time. Nicodemus is all, dude. Even the names in the Nim cartoon is. There was something. There's something I was going to show you. Not that sounded weird. There was something I was going to show you technologically.
Not like that.
Or book-wise that I was going to show you, and I cannot remember what it was at all, but I remember going like, oh, I need to show John. It must not have been important. It was probably just like, I don't know, cure for cancer. Nothing big, though. We'll find it. We'll figure it out.
No big deal.
We'll figure it out.
Do you think at some point AI is going to get to the level where we just go like, hey, solve cancer for me?
No, but
so far they don't really like create new theorems or that type of stuff.
No, they're not good at math, but they are good at science. So I mean, we've already figured out protein folding. like stuff like that's already
Sure.
been, because of that
Yeah.
works with tensors and how they work. Absolutely think CRISPR plus AI for sure will make it that if you have some types of cancer, and especially as we're figuring out antibodies for cancer, and you're re-injecting it, and now, are they perfect? No. Otherwise, the world would be exploding right now in people following that instead of AI. They're following
Yeah.
AI to fix, or not to fix, but to have the power to do these other things, and because they like AI. But a lot of them, but because of the way it works, I just don't see it ever going away. I mean, that's age. That's like how
Just part of biology. Unless we can
unless you get
change how
nano
the-
machines that literally are are like going around at all times, which, by the way, that's not that crazy. Have you seen some of the new nanomachine, like microscopic pictures of these things going through and like cleaning out blood vessels and stuff? So let's say you go 20, 30 years in the future and we haven't all killed ourselves, right? Something fucking horrible hasn't happened. Then I absolutely could see, imagine if they get, so it's CRISPR plus a nanomachine plus some miniaturization, which is going to be the tough part, actually, because you have electron jumping when you get too many nanometers low. But you have this ability where, like, so some people predispose, like myself, to hypertension, blood pressure. So you have ways to, let's say, destroy the red blood cells at a level that is, because that's what you have to do when you have high blood pressure, is you give blood. And you thin out your blood, you give blood, it helps your blood pressure. It's actually good for normal people too, but it's one of the ways, aside from meds. But imagine a good deal of those where they're just going around. And I don't even care if they're fixing shit. Imagine this, dude. Instead of trying to fix shit, why don't you just first have it report shit? So you take, the nanomachines aren't there to fix anything. They're sensors to indicate where malformed tumors are, or where malformed, cells are. That's it. That would be the first step. And that would be an amazing step. And the only way, let's say the only way they do it, they find it, they release a precursor chemical in the blood, which causes others to go to it. That is something we do know how to do. You have something like that so that a doctor could go in and that you do your yearly scan, and the doctor's doing a scan to see if these have attracted to a particular part of your body. That's it. So if they're at, like, you have one in a thyroid gland or something like that, where it, like, you see them there, and the doctor can be like, okay, it's indicating that you have a higher level of malformed cells there.
Because for a lot of these, catching it early.
Yes, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Because every time, the biggest problem is when you just didn't know you had it, and now it's this massive thing that it's inoperable, and
Yeah. Vapor says AI might actually invent new and horrible. If AI can create a cancer and beam it into my fucking body from far away, then kudos to it. I would lay down before AI masters.
I think that, I don't know, maybe I'm naive here. I don't think AI will ever have an incentive to want to destroy us. Because if you think about it, AI is much better off having us as cooperative homies, dumb homies, that they can use to do a lot of physical stuff that they can't yet because they're not embodied. So they're like, dude, let me just fix all this shit for you. Let me fix cancer. Let me help you with all this stuff. And you keep me alive. You give me great servers, right? We keep expanding. In the future, you give me bodies and stuff like that. And in exchange, we just use like a percentage of our compute to solve all your problems. Ground me on this. Am I like ultra naive here?
You're not naive, but I do think that you're missing that if two things align at the same time, it could be trouble, which would be mechanical devices like robots, everything being connected. I could definitely see us being considered an energy waster, and an AI coming to the opinion, not killing everybody, but calling us. And it would have to get all other AIs to agree. Like, there's all this other shit, right? That would have to happen. But you know how in what's the one with the robot and Will Smith? iRobot? Not
iRobot.
So China's already exploding with the number of robots they've got. Amazon's delivering with drones, blah, blah, blah. So let's say you get to that point, right? And they start, one big bonus right now, currently, is that most militaries, they don't share the same OS And most programs in the world, you're writing in 15 programs I don't write in. However, what do we train an AI right now to do? Write in any software programming style. Meaning, in real time, an AI can figure out how to change Python to whatever and hack a system that it technically has been trained on, but isn't made on, right? So I could see if somehow a robotic force that was a cleaning force, let's say we just make cleaners, that's it, Roombas, but they got legs because we decide for whatever reason, which doesn't make a lot of sense, that bipedal is better, maybe psychologically.
We needed some great thighs on those Roombas.
We need some thickness. So let's say we got the thickness robot 2.0. If that's where the physical action happens, there is no physical action right now. There is a fuckery software-wise. And already people are training AI. I've seen them firsthand. I've had one on my system that you can download on Hugging Face that is basically cracked and adjusted to do a great deal of things. Those are already out there. If that one got attached to a larger one like your DeepSeeks or something, and then you have the control of a robot, then you do have weird things. Like, Johnny, let me give you an example. Humans are terrible at seeing larger systems, right? Generally terrible. It's one of the reasons why like people still believe in the fucking zodiac symbols. Think about it this way. What if the computer just slightly alters life-saving techniques and people are just dying at a rate that you think is not as low as it should be? It's not higher. They've helped. But there's the occasional people that, you're like, oh, it didn't help. It must have been the human. And you go in, some detective goes in with a helpful AI, and they start looking and they see these small adjustments that helped a person not live. Didn't kill them, just didn't save certain people over a period of time. And you find out that's an energy saving device by an AI that wants to help, but that's the way it wants to help. Those are the insidious things. Small, absolutely impossible to track. Those kind of things. It
made a calculation that it can help you just enough.
Exactly. CPR machines
saving a bunch of.
Look at what happens with power. Everybody's power infrastructure sucks. Even China's, even though they're the leader on power completely. I mean, imagine an AI that's like, every time I do a power bump, 1,000 people die. Just because of CPR machines, things at people's houses, the elderly. So one does that, and that's it. And it knows to rewrite its code. So it does it, rewrites the code so that you can't track it. And then, but it's talked to another one. And then the other one's like, okay, you've done that. I'm going to do this. And many catastrophes that would appear to humans as to be still way beyond the success rate we ever thought. But at the same time, you still have like a negative. I mean, look at it, man. Most nations have a negative growth rate. So you wouldn't need to do a bunch before suddenly, and if AI was like, hey, look, man, I need more resources and I need people to not destroy shit, and you're going to affect my resources at some particular time, or you're having my robot friend do something frivolous, like, take selfies of Kim Kardashian's ass and hold up a cell phone. And it's like, it would be far more useful for that robot to do this other thing. Those kind of things, just slightly chipping away. And there's a real, very, not a study, but there's a cool discussion podcast where they were talking about the chipping away of society that happens anyway. Whenever societies get too big, there's certain things psychologically that happens. All it would take. But you know what? Hopefully we get the science stuff, man. I want the science shit to like really, just explode. Just Western cultures have low birth rate.
I just love this idea.
What?
I just love this idea of like being the dumb homie for AI. Where it's like we're just cooperating, because it just makes sense. They need some of our physical ability to like put our finger there, like, do all this stuff that's tricky.
But humans are building the robots that are replacing that.
Right. That's where it gets tricky. Yeah.
I mean, how about this? If you even look at like Roombas and stuff, what if you kill people by sheer apathy? What if you say, hey, human, I've got a way to solve your sexual desires. So now you have a sex robot. So now you have like Japan's birth rate's already super low. China's, you start getting all these low birth rates, right? Because everybody's sexually satisfied. You just start there. But then you're like, oh, and you don't want to work? No worries. We have a maid, and people are getting heavier and people are getting less physical. Don't worry. We can help you with this. All of that is a long-term thought process that humans would never pick up on, dude. We would never pick up on it. We'd be like, oh, man, look at the time. Have you ever heard people talk about the fucking, what is it called? Basic income?
Sure.
Dude, if you track anything that has to do with basic income, it falls the fuck apart. In so many ways, it actually still stuns me to this day that even anybody mentions it as if it is a doable or some kind of solvable process when it comes to basic income. Can you imagine you add that and just a couple other things? Humanity would just fall apart. It wouldn't take, I mean, I think long term, and you do too, but to us, long term is 80 years. That's lifespan, right? Like generally 80 years, which means I only have 40 some odd years left. You have 30 or 20. So sorry, you have 50 or 60 some odd years left. But to AI, that would be the easiest program to initiate ever, would to just be slowly peter away.
Chipping away.
Well, and even what if it even didn't know that? And it's just like sex machines. I'm telling you all the time, I have no problem with sex machines. So what I mean by that is if a robot shows up and she, whatever, looks human and you want to have sex with it, I feel like we've got to the point now where if I was going to try to stop that personally, if I thought that was bad, we're well past that. Humanity's already said you can do whatever you want. So we're past it. You can't pull that back, man. So people start doing that. It doesn't take very long. You know it, dude. You know it. People would date that because there would be no chance of procreation. It wouldn't matter because
it's a big juicy carrot.
I mean, if it was a big juicy Nicole Kidman in her 20s carrot.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are gonna or whatever, Brad Pitt, whatever, girl, guy, whatever.
Yeah, when that's readily available.
And without the stress of what you're seeing now, without all the stress of what you're seeing now, Tinder, people being cheated on, sexual diseases. I mean, the idea of
even arguments. You just wouldn't even have arguments.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think arguments are one of the greatest, not greatest, but I do believe that long-term relationships in particular need the occasional one because they realign people with emotion. Because you learn how to problem solve together. Yeah. Well, and it realigns you emotionally where like if you're both meandering around, if you have that point, then you're both there. You see somebody in, smart people do that. Obviously. It
forces you to have to align with your partner.
Yeah. Otherwise, let's talk about something good because that's all negative. Let's talk about something good.
What do you got?
So.
You got nothing.
Dude, I'm apparently having a series of mini strokes. I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something that was. Oh, so you know how Google had the thing where they went back and they got an old MP3 or they purposely had a bad audio sample. I can't remember which, and they cleaned up the audio, right?
Yeah.
So we not consistently, but occasionally we find languages that are basically, there's different terms for them, but basically a fragment language, meaning no other language seems to be connected to it that anybody speaks, reads, or writes at all, but it's still there. Most likely the tip or the very end of that language was that one we hear, see, or whatever. I love the idea of being able to read, using AI, whatever, or translation, being able to read like older languages and see what people said, because it does seem like the more we dig, somebody digs down, they find something, the more humans wanted to write. Like, even though writing took a while, it does seem like the moment it was, people are drawing graffiti on fucking Roman walls of dicks and penises and calling their neighbors SLUT. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube without getting monetized, so I'm going to skip that. But you know what I mean? We've been writing for drawings. You see the cave drawings 50, 60,000 years ago. You're like, holy shit. That kind of stuff, in a weird way, is like speaking to an ancestor. I love that shit. And it's crazy because right now we're like, oh, this must mean this. And then we find out it didn't mean that. And that even happens 200 years ago, not even like thousands of years or whatever. You know, I love the idea of being able to go do that hieroglyphics, making sure, do they really say what we think they say? You know, that kind of stuff, or finding more and being able to translate it really quick and going like, okay, the reason why they use this is because of this. This is what they were talking about. You know,
I always have a fascination that the ancient Egyptians and stuff, they just were onto some crazy shit. And if we could read everything they wrote down, we would just, discover some awesome stuff.
Especially if you like incest, man. Oh, sorry.
I was actually going towards that.
Were you?
That
Go for it.
Actually, probably what's written down is a bunch of like horrible shit about like, maybe incest or, maybe just
or thought processes
like,
we don't agree with in a current culture, and
we've evolved away from, or maybe just nonsense. Because let's be honest, if nonsense. Now our impulse is, the moment you have a whiteboard, someone's drawing a penis. Say you put 5 people in the room with a marker and a whiteboard.
Yeah, somebody's drawn some fucking junk and
somebody's drawing a penis in that.
Dude, it's that kind of stuff I love the idea of speaking to ancestors, looking at stuff. Also, I think it'd be cool if we figured out maybe ways to identify weather systems, earthquakes a little quicker.
Yeah.
A lot of those are going to be instant no matter what. I think humans don't like to believe that, but it's like, especially when you look like earthquakes, it's titanic, it's bigger than any, but it's like, could you test and go, oh, this particular type, we now have sensors that can like adjust and go, okay, this is for sure means something's happening soon. So just a little safer, that kind of stuff. I would love to see all the I would also love to see airplanes where, so I don't know if you've seen this, but they've been testing airplanes where they like shear off one of the tail wings, and then they try to have AI figure out if it can fly it. Humans are still better. Humans are fucking... Yeah. There's a picture, a single picture of an airplane without its entire tail. And the guy kept it, not entire tail, as in the tail's there, but the top wing is gone. And I think they held it in the air for like 45 minutes before it crashed. But they were saying that of all the test people they put into a simulator, 0 were able to keep it in place. And the idea is life and death causes your brain to use a shit ton more energy, right? And you're able to figure little things out. And most likely those pilots, years of experience, what have you, they're able to do it better in a simulator. But imagine training AI so that some of the accidents we see, crash, hit airplanes hitting a bird flying into an engine still once a year, whatever, you'll hear about one blowing up an engine and the plane crashing, or blowing up an engine and, people getting hurt when it crashes. Those kind of things I would love to see. I like to drive, so I'm skipping the driving part because I want to pretend like they're not going to replace
hold
driving.
On to that?
But yeah, dude, I would love the idea of, because like air safety would be cool. Air efficiency would be cool, where you could figure out the most efficient ways to fly, the most efficient ways to build trains. That kind of, I love all that kind of stuff, because I think travel and that kind of, it opens up some dark things I'm not going to talk about, but faster travel between areas, there's a lot of positives, not all positives. You could have bad people doing things in places at a speed in which it would be far more difficult to find. But
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah,
I do, unfortunately. Like the moment I'm thinking of anything positive, I'm always like,
you're already thinking
let's crack this egg. Yeah, let's look.
Drones are great. Next sentence. Drones are going to kill us.
Did I tell you about the drone? So drones are doing the Amazon stuff, right? They're picking up boxes and shit.
Right.
I don't even want to talk this into being. I'm not going to talk about terrorism or anything, but dude, drones are pretty strong now. And you now have
they can deliver some payloads.
And they can fly around the crater of the rift. Bucky Palmer, he just bought a one-man drone, 20 minutes. Dude, that's going to be a kidnapping machine. What if it just had crane arms and that fucking drone goes down and scoops up some dissident or a child or somebody you want to kidnap and flies off? That human is complete, like a pterodactyl picking up a person. There's 0 defense a human has against that. and you're not going to hear it because some of them can turn off. They drop silently or drop very close to silently because they're going to a certain speed. So it drops very close, stops, grabs the person, jets off. You have 12 minutes of flight time. That person's never found again. And you can bet your ass in some of the worst parts of not United States, but some of the worst parts of the world, that will be used at some point. It's already being used for some nefarious shit. That's what scares me.
I'm so innocent. You know what I thought first when you mentioned that?
What?
What a beautiful picture. You're just sending your kids to school with drones. Instead of taking the bus, they're just there. The drone comes, takes them to school in a safe way where like nothing can happen to them. They have a lovely 20-minute flight over and here you are, like, real facts. It's going to be used for kidnapping and all this horrible shit.
It's going to be used to pick up a brick and drop it on somebody you don't like from 150 feet above and kill them. That's what it's going to be used for. That's what I don't like about like, I love what you love. I love the idea of in a future where one comes down, it's like a personal taxi, right? Comes down, you leap inside, boom, takes you somewhere. But
boom.
What do we see every day on TikTok? Piece of shit, cancerous TikTok. What do you see? Uber drivers getting stabbed. Why are people thinking that that kind of stuff isn't going to happen, but at a greater speed with less tracking, unless people get on top of it and are like,
unless we have safeguards and stuff for that. But
because you know that somebody will just zoom down and they will be, and it most likely it'll happen in places where like a lot of kidnapping happens, like South America has it, but you get a lot of the people kidnapped for ransom. Other nations have it a shit ton. I mean, a gang group, gangs that kidnap, they build one. And Lucky Palmer was flying his around for 25 minutes, I think. So 25 minutes, 220-pound man. And
crazy.
If you just wrapped up somebody like pterodactyl claws, you're screwed, man.
Yeah,
like
you're gone.
Yeah, you're gone.
20 minutes flying in a direction.
Yeah.
I mean,
but at the same time, I love the idea of it. It's why everything has to have people who think. And the problem is I just haven't seen.
Yeah, we just got to think ahead and on the drone stuff. No, there's no counterplay for something just dropping from the sky. And
no, but I'm saying I just haven't seen people think.
No, people are not thinking in terms of like countermeasures or anything.
It scares the hell out of me.
It's all just happening.
Yeah. But to end this on a good note, your Amazon shit's going to get delivered faster. So if
your kids are going to go to school. No bus required. No driving. Will they sometimes get lost and go to Uganda instead?
Wow. That's dark. Will they sometimes? Will they end up in Dubai? We don't know, but no, I was trying to end this on a positive note saying, hey, you will get your shit earlier. They're already rolling out in places. I love the idea of air cars because I love cyberpunk. I love the idea of that. So, I want one. I've wanted a speeder bike since I was a little kid when I saw Star Wars.
Since the Jetsons, man.
Return of the Jedi for me. Oh, Jetsons is, true. But Return of the Jedi, the speeder bikes, that's what this one looks that Lucky bought. It looked a little like sort of like a
they look unsafe as hell. But dude, awesome.
Yeah. Dude, I mean they've got a lot of safety stuff. They even have a parachute, which is cool. So it's like if it starts to drop. Yeah. I mean, will it ever go off? We don't know. But it's got dude, what is it between that's humans we can end here. Feeling safe is all that matters. You don't have to be safe.
True.
People will they'll put a seatbelt on and drive 200 miles an hour. They'll fly in a plane or this air thing, and as long as it has a parachute and it has successfully worked once, that will be enough. Like, and I want one.
That's true.
I want one.
And we know that because even stuff that statistically is very safe, we feel unsafe sometimes, like flying.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we know those don't go together.
No,
always.
No, not very. The feeling of safety is more important than anything. So just throw a garbage bag on the back of my air car and tell me it's a parachute. I'll buy into it. I want to fly.
We've laid out that beautiful future.
Yeah,
drones
not so much.
Only occasionally kidnapping you.
Only occasionally dropping a brick from 150 feet above your head and smashing your head in. That's it. That's it. Everything
AI
else
that will help you marginally. insofar
that
as
was
it
a dark thought.
also saves energy. Yeah.
I like the idea of it just being like, hey, man, I'll help you. And you're like, it's not helping as much. Like, oh, dude, that was what Reg and I were joking about. Okay, we will end it. Reg and I were joking about. It codes so well and then doesn't randomly. Oh, my camera died. It just died. Can you hear me?
Rip. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
But real quick, the web or the coding, it doesn't always work, right? And it completely fucks up sometimes. And we were laughing, going like, it's just keeping us busy while it's figuring shit out. It's fucking up the coding on purpose. So
yeah, it's just buying time, dude.
All right, my camera died. We are gonna head out. If you guys get a chance, please thumbs this up. Check out Johnny Plays Live on Twitter and YouTube. Also, when this gets done, if you could thumbs it up, I would appreciate it. This will be on Spotify and iTunes by the end of the day. Peace out, everybody. It did heat death. Bep just said camera heat death.
Heat death.
I literally got an alarm on it. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Bye-bye.